All right, guys, welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up there. I hope everybody's doing well today. We have already almost 75 people here, which is great to see. So do me a favor. If you enjoy the streams, if you enjoy the content, take a moment, hit that like button. See if we can push for 25 likes, maybe then push for 50. Let's give a boss a little appetizer there. Pragmatic Cat, Ray, what's going on? Gaming Survivor, what's up, man? Irfin, Cam, Diego, how's it going, guys? Robert, you're on lunch for an hour? Good stuff, man. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. Digital Dude, what's up? Yeah, I noticed the names are back to normal, which is good to see. Definitely good to see because wasn't really a fan of what they were doing. Wasn't a fan of what they were doing for like 2 days. Ray, don't mess with me like that, bro. Don't mess with me like that. We got Leia chilling in the background. She's just relaxing, enjoying herself. But yeah, appreciate you guys joining me today. We have a couple of different topics that we're going to go over and discuss. We are talking about Ghost of Yotei and how there is a state of play coming. You're saying screen tearing? Oh man. Now we got screen tearing going on? That's not good. Well, we have a Ghost of Yotei state of play that's coming this month. It seems like July is going to be a pretty big month overall for this title. And it's coming right off the heels of, you know, my mic arm looks weird. We don't have the exact date, Digital Dude. We don't have the exact date of the Ghost of Yotei state of play. All we know is that it's been confirmed it's happening this month. So it could be this week. It could be the end of the month. Could be sometime in between. But it's coming. And Sony did just release a new Ghost of Yotei trailer yesterday, which is for the Collector's Edition. Although a lot of people seem to be pretty annoyed at the fact that the Collector's Edition is not coming with a physical copy of the game. Yeah, no, Michael, so basically what I decided is I'm just going to buy a new version of the mic that I've been using. I did some comparisons. I looked into it, and yeah, it's just I'm beginning to think that part of the reason why that microphone is so popular is just because it's what everybody uses. It's very good, but the sound quality we have here is pretty much on the same level from you know, looking into it with comparison videos and whatnot. It's kind of shocking, actually. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Oh, looks like boss is getting ready to mess with. Don't start causing problems, boss. Sounds like a McDonald's drive-through speaker. Well, damn, they must have some pretty good drive-through speakers, bro. But we're also going to be talking about more reports regarding Xbox. We have multiple Xbox executives speaking out and seemingly causing some problems with some fans in the Xbox ecosystem. But I figured, you know, there are multiple reports covering this, so we'll go over it. We're also going to be talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 and how apparently they released an update out of nowhere for Red Dead Online, and people are kind of shocked about this because it's been literally years since they've done anything for Red Dead Online. and it almost seems like an Undead Nightmare-esque update. They're bringing zombies. People think that this is a sign that the PS5 version is coming, that the PS5 version of Red Dead 2 is finally coming. And yeah, and we'll probably talk about some other things as well. Can't get a physical copy of Death Stranding 2, so you decided to get it digitally. Yeah, just so everybody's aware, because I have seen people asking me about we did like that members lounge yesterday where I was trying to set up the new mic. I'm basically going to return that stuff because it wasn't working out. I don't know if there was something wrong with the microphone. It's possible. But I'm returning it, and I'm going to be, like I said, getting a newer version of this one. I don't know. It wasn't fake. I'm starting to think maybe it was a defect or something, but just something wasn't right. So I'll be returning that stuff, and I just decided, you know what? This microphone is tried and true. I think the sound quality is great. We're going to stick with it, and it did actually leave me with a little bit of extra money that I was able to use for something Mrs. MBG needed. We actually found out that her spine is literally broken. I know that sounds crazy, but it's literally true. It's like fractured, so she needed some high quality crutches. So you guys will be happy to know that the leftover money that I'll be getting from returning that stuff, because this microphone isn't nearly as expensive as the other one, which again is shocking because of the sound quality we get out of it. But yeah, so it'll be, the remaining funds will be going towards that, which will be very helpful. You say I need a better mic. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, in all seriousness, like if you compare my sound quality to anybody else's, is it dramatically different? I don't think it is. I was just saying, I listen to some of my content, not like, you know, just for the sake of listening to it, but to check on stuff. I think it sounds fine. But I think it's because the software I use does the heavy lifting. I think it's the software, but I just figured I'd give you guys an update on that. Yeah, Michael, I can understand that, bro. Yeah. I'm honest, it's because I'm afraid to get anything else, to be honest. Yeah, this microphone has done such a good job for so long. I know it like broke, but it's, I mean, I've been using it for like 5 or 6 years, almost every single day. So it got its use, bro. But just an update on that. But yeah, let's start with Ghost of Yotei. And before we dive into it, guys, you already know, if you want to help support the channel, support the content, there's plenty of ways for you to do that. You can become a channel member, gift memberships, drop a super chat, drop a direct donation. These are all ways in which you can support the channel, the content, and the community directly. We are completely fan funded. So if you want to contribute with that, feel free to do so. And a big thank you to everybody who has done so and will continue to do so. But make sure you hit that like button as well. We just passed 25 likes. Let's see if we can push that up to 50. Yeah, I saw that. He confirmed the Black Flag remake. Digital Dude's like, take it easy, bro. What mic do I currently have? It is the Yeti X. The blue Yeti X. I'm not sure that they even really make these anymore. They seem to be hard to come by now. How do you gift memberships? Well, depending on where you're watching, next to the chat box, or at the bottom of the chat box, there's a dollar sign or like a dollar bill logo. Usually when you click on that, it'll give you the option if you want to super chat, drop a membership, gift. How much is the Sony wireless mic? I think it's like $450 or $500. That would be an interesting one, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a wireless mic. Like, that's cool, you know? But I feel like you got to go with something wired, right? But yeah, we're going to talk about Ghost of Yotei, guys. I have a PlayStation blog post here. I think quite a few people may have forgotten about this. Probably not many of you, but just in case you did, on June 4th, there was a blog post saying, get ready for Sucker Punch to guide you through an extended look at the new open world adventure. As you may have seen in our latest State of Play, Sucker Punch has a special State of Play episode dedicated to Ghost of Yotei coming in July. The show will be focused entirely on Ghost of Yotei coming to PS5 on October 2nd. You'll get an extended look at new and evolved gameplay mechanics, including exploration, combat, and much more. So they say stay tuned for more information on where and when to watch. So today is July 1st. It's coming. We have a $50 direct donation. Bro, I'm so sorry that I'm a little bit late to this. From Titus. Titus comes in, uses the direct donation link, and drops a cool $50. And he says, hey, MBG, I think the sound quality of the mic is great. Here's a small donation for Mrs. MBG. Well, Titus, thank you so much for that, buddy. You know I appreciate it. You were coming in showing some love a couple of days ago, and you're back again. And yeah, man, I'll be sure to utilize that donation to help me and Mrs. MBG out. Really appreciate it. Thank you, bud. That's good stuff. Titus, you're always coming in clutch, man. I think you were here too, and I'm like, yo, my what was it? My dryer broke. I think that was like last year. You guys were like rallying around it, like, let's do it, bro. Let's hit the goal. So thank you so much, man. And we also have Robert Rose. He does a $2 super chat saying, here you go. Thank you for that, Robert. You know I appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Yeah, I appreciate all the support. Yeah, Digital Dude, I saw that. There was a, was I saying Titus? How was I saying it? Titus with a D. Titus. There was that trailer that I alluded to multiple times. There's no way that's how you say it. Titus. That can't be right. That can't be right. Is it? Have I been saying it wrong this whole time? Not again, bro. Don't do this to me again. Gaming Survivor's on it. Yeah, I don't know. You're saying you're screwing around? All right. So that makes me think, no, oh my God, he says Titus is right. This whole time. It's the main character of Final Fantasy X. I've seen the name so many times. Because I think you're not the only person on the channel who has put this name as their username. And I've still been saying Titus this whole time. You're telling me it's Titus? That's how you say it? I'm not a true Final Fantasy fan. I'm not. It's true. It's true that I'm not a true fan. I'm a newer Final Fantasy fan. Wow. All right. Well, Titus. Better late than never, I guess, to find out, right? Titus, thank you so much, bro. It's going to be really hard for me to not continue to call you Titus, though. Got to be honest. But talking about that new Ghost of Yotei trailer that we got yesterday for the Collector's Edition, they did tease a little bit of new gameplay. Really, really small teases, but yeah, it looks like there's some kind of poker game or coin game, something. Some kind of gambling game, potentially. And they were showing like different shots, different outfits and whatnot. And I do feel like this trailer that they released yesterday acts as a slight tease for maybe some of the stuff we're going to see in the upcoming State of Play. And yeah, it's just one of these things, man, where, I mean, they've been on point, I would say, with their games and the rollout of their games. I mean, the first half of this year was a little bit drier, certainly. They did drop Days Gone Remastered, which I thoroughly enjoyed, but I understand that for a lot of other people, that just doesn't feel like enough. But now they're getting on a roll. They dropped Death Stranding, and man, we've been talking about that for the past week and a half. we've been talking about Death Stranding 2 nonstop. It's an incredible game. But it's just very exciting to know that, as I'm still making my way through Death Stranding 2, Sony's going to be coming out and give me an in-depth look of their new first party title, excuse me. And yeah, I mean, my big question with Ghost of Yotei is, will it manage to actually surpass Ghost of Tsushima? I feel like that's a tough one. We're not going to know, of course, until it comes out, but I feel like getting the state of play this month is going to give us a very good idea of what major differences are going to be there, with Ghost of Yotei compared to Tsushima. Not just like graphically, of course, but in terms of gameplay mechanics. And, they keep teasing exploration as if there's going to be, quite a few different things you're going to do this time around while exploring compared to Tsushima. Yeah, I mean, Digital Dude, I gotta agree with that, man. I gotta agree with that. It's coming soon. And Robert Rose drops another $10. Looks like it's just a straight $10 super chat, although there's no chat, but a donation. Robert, thank you for that, buddy. I appreciate it, bro. Good stuff. Yeah, Mafia's coming out really soon, too, in like a month. That's crazy. A lot of these games are just creeping up. But yeah, Digital Dude, you're saying it's crazy to think that Yotei will be released in just a year since it was announced. That is a new strategy Sony was talking about. Yeah, man. I mean, we talk about, like, when is Sony going to announce this? When is Sony going to announce that? And we also speculated that, well, maybe they're holding off because they don't want it to drag out. They want it to be a quick, rapid reveal to release. And for Astrobot, that was absolutely true. I think that was the shortest window ever, like literally 3 months, which was wild. But not too long after that, we get Ghost of Yotei. And yeah, now it's coming out in about almost exactly 1 year since it was revealed. And we have JMR77 with a super chat. He says, hello, MBG. I just wanted to give my love and support to Mrs. MBG and the family. I hope she gets well soon. Send her and the family my best wishes. Well, JMR, thank you so much for the kind words, man. And I'm I see Mrs. MBG in the chat. So she's reading what you're saying, and we appreciate it, man. Yeah. All the support that you guys have been showing, it's helping tremendously. Not only could I not do what I do here on the channel without that support, but it's definitely a difference maker behind the scenes with other, other things that are going on in life. So, JMR, thank you so much, man. You can't do your celebration of your membership, and it keeps saying try again. Has anybody else been trying to use their milestone chat and it's not letting you? Anybody else running into this problem? MRPD, I'm still on episode 3. I'm making my way through episode 3. I think I'm getting close to 4 now. Yeah, I mean, JMR, absolutely. Every little bit helps, man. Thank you, MRPD. Yeah. Wait till 5. Okay. Yeah, I mean, people have been teasing some of the things that are apparently coming up not too far from where I am. I'm excited, man. I've been trying to like really plan out when I'm going to sit down and like my play sessions, sitting down and playing Death Stranding 2, because it's one of those games where once I start playing it, it's really hard to put it down. I'm not sure, Digital Dude. Maybe we might. Can't wait for Mafia. Do I know when the Ghost of Yotei state of play is happening or the trailer coming out? No. All Sony has told us is that it's happening this month, which is nice. I mean, or at least I was being very hard on Sony earlier this year because they did a dedicated state of play for Borderlands 4. And I thought that was kind of silly because I'm like, why not for your own game? Why not for Ghost of Yotei or Death Stranding or something? And so, I was getting a little bit worried that they weren't going to be doing something like this for Ghost of Yotei. And you know, they announced it during, it was kind of funny the way they announced it. They announced it during an actual state of play. We're announcing a state of play within a state of play. Not unprecedented, but I appreciate it. You know, it gives me something to look forward to this month. And, you know, we still have a little bit of a wait before Yotei drops in October. But I have a feeling that if they're going to be doing a dedicated deep dive like they did for Ghost of Tsushima, they must have quite a bit to show. Because I remember when they did the dedicated state of play for Ghost of Tsushima, people were going crazy. People were going crazy with that, dude. So I really wonder how it's going to look this time around. And we have Gaming Survivor. He's surviving out here, bro. He comes in and he renews his membership. Gaming Survivor, thank you so much for that, man. And I did forget to mention that we will be doing a members lounge after today's regular stream because I owe you that. We did one yesterday, but it was kind of a train wreck because I was messing around with, you know, mic stuff, and it was a technical train wreck. So I didn't even bother keeping that up. But yeah, perfect timing, Gaming Survivor. We will be doing a members lounge. So if you are a channel member, make sure you stay tuned. Come hang out with us after the stream wraps up. And yeah, you know, hopefully throughout the stream, more people will get some memberships and they can join us. Yeah, Mrs. MBG wants to grill. Members lounge right on time, bro. Diego, I'm actually not sure what game you're talking about. Rockstar dropped the trailer for Red Dead Online 30 minutes ago. Yeah, something's going on with Red Dead. That's another topic we're going to discuss. Something's definitely going on with Red Dead. There was some teasing going on. Not teasing, but some rumors swirling earlier in the year that there was a proper PS5 version of Red Dead 2 coming, and I have a write-up here from Push Square. It says Rockstar pretty much pulled the plug on Red Dead Redemption 2 Online in 2022, prompting fans to hold an in-game funeral for the multiplayer mode. The label has continued supporting the title with various in-game events, but it's ceased creating new content for it in the years since. But that changes today, as the company has unexpectedly added some new Telegram missions to the title. Here's what's confirmed with an email to fans. They say, author Theodore Levin needs your help investigating the bizarre and unexplained in Strange Tales of the West, a new set of 4 eerie Telegram missions available tomorrow in Red Dead Online. Track down undead plagues, rogue automations, swamp beasts, and more by collecting Mr. Levin's letter from any post office at your camp's lockbox or by launching Telegram missions from the player menu. This is particularly interesting because the missions sounded like they have a kind of horror flavor, which is causing some speculation about whether they could potentially be connected to an Undead Nightmare type update. It seems like wishful thinking, but you never know. Of course, the timing of this new content is suspicious, to say the least. There have been heavy rumors for weeks now that a Red Dead Redemption 2 port is in production for PS5, and the sudden addition of fresh missions would certainly support that. Last month, the game's original voice cast teased exciting news, which led many to believe an announcement was imminent. Unfortunately, it turned out to be a meet and greet, but there's still reason to believe this popular title is getting an updated PS5 version. And what the article doesn't mention is that, putting the tease from the voice actors aside, it has been, it has been rumored from actual, sources that this is happening. And Adama the Dragoon comes in and becomes a channel member. It looks like it might be your first time becoming a member based on the badge. So, Adama, thank you so much for that. And Gaming Survivor, this is for you too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Digital Dude says, MBG, any chance I can get some free merch? Free merch. Buy a mug. It ain't free. Well, actually, the only merch I have is that mug. But, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't know how to do that because I do it through, God, I don't even remember the name of the company. Teespring, I think is what they're called. Digital Dude, just wear a black hat. That's your MBG merch. I should just sell a black hat We made that joke before. I did have a boss mug that was going around for a little bit. You're returning from a while back. Had to create a new account. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say your name. I recognize it. Certainly recognize it. But I was surprised to see the 1 month badge. But I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Let me add those to the counter, by the way. I forgot to do that. There we go. No, Robert, memberships, they do. Yeah, no, memberships fund the channel. I think it's like a 70-30 split, give or take. So the memberships definitely help. You think Sony should buy the Wukong studio? I doubt they would do that. I don't think that studio would want to sell, but I also doubt they would do that just because that studio, I mean, it's a Chinese-based studio. It sounds like there might be a lot of things that could maybe prevent that from being a thing or make it very difficult. Yeah, boss gets 70. How'd you know, bro? But yeah, I mean, what are you guys thinking about this Red Dead Redemption 2 update? Are we thinking that this is actually a tease for a proper PS5 version of Red Dead Redemption 2? I feel like this is kind of strange, right? Like, they abandoned Red Dead Online for about 3 years to the point where players hold an actual funeral in-game for it. And then just out of nowhere, they're like, hey, we got a new batch of like horror-themed content. Now, it's not like something major, but it's, you know, considering it was nothing for years, it feels that way. I feel like something's going on now. I feel like this has to be a sign that they're getting ready to maybe try to resell the game and they want to try to reinvigorate Red Dead Redemption Online. There has to be something to it because it's just too random. It's too random, man. I played Red Dead Online for a little bit and it was okay. It got kind of boring and I fell off of it pretty quickly. But I did give it a shot when I first played Red Dead Redemption 2. An Ultimate Edition physical version for PS5. Whatever happened to the Max Payne 1 and 2 remake, that's still in development. Remedy's still working on that. Absolutely. We haven't seen it yet, though. Can't wait to see it. That's gonna be a banger. They can sell it for $70 now. Talking about Red Dead 2. They could, yeah. PS5 version, no doubt coming. Imagine the game on the Pro. I mean, that's the thing. If they're going to do a PS5 version of Red Dead Redemption 2, I hope it's actually like worthwhile. You know, I hope it's not just like, okay, we just put a 60 FPS update out. There you go. I mean, I would take that too, but I would prefer them to kind of go the extra mile where it's like we did a PS5 Pro enhancement, you know, and we really like kind of we put a decent amount of effort into it. That'd be pretty good. I would support that. Be a nice excuse to replay Red Dead Redemption 2. It's been a long time since I played it. Man, that game is a long game. That is a long video game. I think it takes like 70, 80 hours to beat Red Dead 2. It's wild. Yeah, Ray, I've heard good things about that game. Apparently it does something very different when it comes to open world game design, but I'm not sure what it is. But I'll be keeping my eye on that game. Oh, is it? I thought the demo was on the Hell Is Us demo. I thought that was only out on PC. Did they just release it for PS5 now? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I might have to try that. Game definitely looks interesting. It's weird to get new Red Dead Online content after stopping for 2 years. Something's cooking. I mean, yeah, dude, that's what it feels like. It was a limited time demo on PC. Okay. I mean, Ray's saying it's on PS5 now. MBG, if I'd known about it, then I could have had the chance to see Kojima and Norman Reedus in London last night for the Death Stranding 2 tour. I saw the posts, and I wish I knew in advance. Yeah, I saw that. I saw some clips or some footage of that tour. It's pretty cool that he's doing that. He did reveal yesterday that he is in fact happy with Death Stranding 2's review scores. He's happy that it's sitting at a 90 on Metacritic. PlayStation's new ad is going super viral on social media. Muhammad, in what way? When you say super viral, because I know what ad you're talking about. It's with something I've never heard. I mean, I don't know. Is this like a K-pop group? Oh wait, yeah. Let me see. I mean, the Twitter post has 1.3 million views. PlayStation X Lisa. I don't know what the is. Yeah, I don't know. Is this a K-pop group? What is this? Lisa from Blackpink. I don't know who that is. I mean, when I saw this K-pop idol Lisa, this is MBG says she's seeing Death Stranding 2 all over TikTok. I mean, I've been seeing people kind of dunking on this ad. I mean, to me, the ad is kind of cringe. I'll be honest. It's like, I don't know. I hate when I see PlayStation doing stuff like this because it feels like I'm not sure who you're trying to appeal to right now. It's definitely not me, or I think most other gamers, but I don't know. It's very popular among the younger generation. Okay, that would make sense. Yeah. I mean, if there's one thing I can identify is that they're trying to appeal to a different demographic and a different audience, for sure, with that type of ad. Because I saw it and I'm like, I don't even know who this is or what I'm looking at, so I'm just going to keep it moving. Just going to keep it moving. Young people who love the K-pop. Navinger says, I thought it was cool. You're getting old, MBG. I don't think it's that I'm getting old. I would have never thought that was cool. No offense. It's just, I'm not into K-pop. So, but I don't know. Maybe I am getting more out of touch, though. Is it me that's out of touch? No, the children must be out of touch. Kids don't know what's good. You listen to pop music. Those X-bots are going to come after you if you don't know your PS Cross Lisa lure. I don't know what's going on, man. They're losing me. Well, that's a thing that Sony did today. Yeah. Uh-oh. Digital dude's popping off again, bro. I see PlayStation is trending. I decided to ask the question on Twitter. I'm sure people will be very respectful to one another. But I decided to ask the question on Twitter. Who do you think has the better games, PlayStation or Xbox? And yeah. You guys can go reply to that if you want. You know how some music you listen to it and you think it's cool, but then you get older and think, what was I listening to? I feel like that about Eminem. Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life where I did listen to rap when I was like, must have been like 10 or 11 years old or something. I did listen to Eminem, but I was listening to rap at that time. And yeah, I kind of do look back and I'm like, what was I listening to, bro? What was going on? But yeah, you know, you live and you learn. I forgot Nintendo. I mean, I would have put I couldn't find the image of the PlayStation logo, the Xbox logo, and the Nintendo logo. I only had the image on hand of the PlayStation logo and the Xbox logo, and I was like, this will be fine. I should have probably thrown Nintendo games in there. And that'll be another one. That'll be a separate question I can ask. Oh, yeah, Limp Bizkit. Hell yeah. Robert says that's easy, PlayStation. Digital dude, you can stop right there, bro. We don't need any more details. We don't need any more. I see Ubisoft is trending for some reason. Don't know why though. Well, we have a couple of Xbox related reports to go over here. So let's start with apparently what's going to happen tomorrow. It's being reported. Update from Push Square on Monday, June 30th at 3:15 p.m. Bloomberg journalist Jason Schreier has followed up on his story involving mass layoffs at Xbox, stating that the cuts will officially be confirmed on July 2nd. So that's tomorrow. That's just before the holiday weekend in the United States, of course, as America readies itself for Independence Day. The layoffs, which could affect entire studios, have been speculated for several days now, leaving employees left waiting to find out if they'll even have a job next week. This comes off the heels of an original story that was reported saying industry whispers suggest Microsoft could be poised to lay off up to 2,000 employees across Xbox as soon as next week. Bloomberg's reliable Jason Schreier first reported on the major job cuts earlier this week when he cited sources familiar with the company's plans. According to his write-up, it's expected to be big, and there will be substantial cuts across the entire group. The Verge has since followed up on the story, claiming that the trillion-dollar company is set to restructure Xbox distribution across Central Europe, which will result in, quote, some operations ceasing in some regions. Xbox sales have been catastrophic in some European countries for quite some time, with one recent report pegging Spanish sales of the Xbox Series X and S at only 12,000 for the period spanning between July 1st and June 8th, 2025. The PS5 sold 178,000 units during the same time frame. Writing on X, 3D Realms co-founder George Broussard said he's hearing internal developer level stuff where people at virtually every studio are anxious and worried, and that entire teams and studios could be shuttered. Expectations are 1,000 to 2,000 people, he said. I think the Xbox unit has about 10,000 people, so 10 to 20%. Although I think that would be, I think they have like 20K people, so that'd be about more like 5%, or maybe I'm wrong. But it says, good luck to all involved, brutal. This follows heavy layoffs in January and May of last year, as the division has been facing pressure from upper management to, quote, boost profit margins since its unprecedented $70 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Of course, this will all impact PlayStation, as in an attempt to improve its income, Microsoft has started bringing virtually all of its major franchises to PS5, including Forza Horizon 5 and Gears of War Reloaded. Thus far, these games have been selling very well on Sony's platform, but it seems like the division is still creaking under the weight of its unfathomable acquisitions, slumping hardware sales, and stagnant sub-services like Game Pass. We'll update this article as soon as we know the extent of the layoffs, but sadly, it's not looking good right now. So yeah, that's the first report. We'll be covering this tomorrow. I have to admit, I'm feeling a little bit anxious in the sense that, I am worried about what studio or studios could end up closing. Ideally, no studios will close. But this is definitely something that I think PlayStation players are now going to be paying attention to, because it's kind of like when you see Ubisoft or EA or any of these other third-party publishers, if they're going to close a studio, if you're playing on PlayStation, that's going to impact you. It just feels like a storm is looming, and tomorrow it's hitting, and we just don't know the severity of it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like the calm before the storm. Although I would say a lot of people right now are probably not calm. It makes me wonder why they wait. Like you would think that maybe they would just announce it once the reporting starts to circulate. pulling out of Central Europe is wild. Once they leave, they're never going back. I agree. I mean, dude, I am a little bit worried about Undead Labs. I'm not going to lie. The two studios I'm most worried about, well, because I'm interested, I like their games. I'm interested in their games is Ninja Theory and Undead Labs. I'm worried about Ninja Theory just for the fact that, Hellblade 2 did not do good. But they are good at mocap and graphical technology. So I could see maybe Microsoft justifying keeping them, even if their games don't do that well for that reason. Undead Labs, it feels like, I don't know, man, they haven't produced anything since State of Decay 2, and we haven't seen much from them, and that's a studio I've been really rooting for. You have a feeling that it will be Xbox manufacturing and they will partner with another company to manufacture the next Xbox? I didn't even think of that. Yeah, I didn't even think of that side of it. Oh man, that would be wild. That would be wild. I didn't even consider that. Yeah, they could. I mean, we're talking about the entirety of the Xbox division. They could make cuts to the hardware sector, which would be a really weird look considering they just released a trailer announcing their partnership with AMD on new hardware. But that could, I mean, conceivably, if they were to announce cuts in their hardware sector, it could facilitate them, like you're saying, partnering with OEMs like Asus and whatnot. Yeah, it's going to be, I think tomorrow's going to be brutal. I do. I think it's going to be brutal, and it's going to be something that is going to make waves, I think, for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, apparently there was another report from, I think, Tom Warren. He said that Turn 10 Studios, they make the Forza Motorsport titles. Apparently they're feeling really nervous. Like, they seem to be under the impression that there's going to be, like, they're going to get gutted. And that's kind of crazy because you're talking about a pillar studio that makes a pillar franchise. And we have Laman with a direct donation. Thank you, buddy. A $2 direct donation. He says, MBG, Sony should acquire WB Studios. That would complete PlayStation Studios perfect with Hogwarts, and then have 3 to 4 studios work on DC games. Your thoughts? I do think that WB's gaming sector would fit very well underneath PlayStation Studios. We talked about this when the rumor came out. I'm always nervous about major consolidation or major acquisitions, but when I evaluate the studios that WB has, like NetherRealm and Avalanche, making Hogwarts Legacy 2 and Rocksteady, I think that these are studios that could greatly benefit from being in the PlayStation Studios family. And Sony has proven to be very good with the managing of single-player titles and single-player studios. Even with some slip-ups with their live service endeavors, they've still done a very good job supporting those single-player studios and facilitating those games. So I do think that Sony could do a much better job than WB ever did or could with some of these very talented studios. I think that it would be a great idea. The rumor that we covered is that Sony is making a bid, or they're making a play for the gaming division of WB. If it does happen, it's going to be a couple years from now. But yeah, I think that Sony, when we compare an acquisition of like WB Game Studios to something like Bungie, the acquisition of WB Studios makes 10 times more sense than Bungie ever did. So I would feel pretty optimistic about that if it happened. I do think that their games would probably remain multi-platform because, I just feel like that they're already expected to be multi-platform, so it's like an easy kind of win where it's like, we'll collect money from maybe Xbox players and Nintendo players, and we'll avoid the negative backlash of announcing we're going to suddenly make these games exclusive. But then again, I don't know, if Sony were to acquire a studio like Rocksteady and they get Batman, right? Apparently Rocksteady's working on a new Batman game. Maybe it's like a Batman Beyond game or something like that. Is Sony really going to forego leveraging that to sell PlayStation consoles? Probably not, right? Unless they have to. Well, thank you for tuning in, Robert. Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. And thank you for some of the super chats. But yeah, Laman, to basically answer your question or give my thoughts, I think it would be a worthwhile acquisition for Sony. I think it would work out much better for them than Bungie has so far. You know, the acquisition of WB Studios is in alignment with single player games, not live service games. And it feels like it's been a long time since we've seen Sony make any acquisitions for single player studios. The last single player studios that Sony acquired were great ones like Housemarque and Bluepoint, but since then, that's been about it. So if they're like, yeah, actually, we're making another significant acquisition and it's for single player studios, I'm absolutely going to be excited about that. Because I have a lot of faith in PlayStation in terms of facilitating high quality single player games. Turn 10 fumbled Forza Motorsport reboot big time. Yeah, I heard that GT7 basically destroyed Forza Motorsport, this generation. And that was coming from a friend of mine who's a big Forza fan. He was saying that like Forza Motorsport basically sucked when it came out and had a lot of issues. Michael Lynch with a $5 super chat. Thank you, Michael, saying the one studio, if closed, that I would say good riddance is the Halo studio. It's basically 343 Studios, and they suck. I mean, you know what's kind of crazy, man, is 343 basically did, I don't want to say they got shut down, but they got completely gutted, and then they got renamed and rebranded. So it almost feels like that kind of did happen, but I get what you're saying. It really just feels like 343, or, you know, the people who are in charge of kind of shepherding Halo just frankly failed at doing so. And I don't know. You just kind of get the sense that Halo should be a juggernaut today, and it's just not. It's still doing okay, but yeah, I mean, it's like I said, Michael, ideally no studios get shut down tomorrow. Like, I was genuinely frustrated when we found out that Tango Gameworks was being closed by Microsoft. Now, you know, luckily Tango Gameworks survived. They were purchased by Krafton, I believe. I think it was Krafton that got them. But I was really pissed off at Microsoft for doing that because I'm like, dude, one of the things I was holding out hope for and that I thought maybe Microsoft would end up greenlighting is an Evil Within 3. I played Evil Within 1 and 2, and I loved them, and I thought, you know, maybe the studio at some point will make a third, and then they're like, actually, no, we're shutting them down. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess scratch that. Evil Within 2 is fantastic. It's a great game. I'm not a huge fan of Bethesda titles, but that was one game underneath Bethesda as a publisher that I was like, yeah, this game's great. I would love to see a third one. Diego, that's completely cursed, man. That's cursed. Yeah, I mean, I know the Evil Within 1 and 2 didn't do that great sales-wise, but it's a shame. It's a shame because they're really good games. But yeah, this was the first Microsoft report that I wanted to bring to you guys today because, you know, we've been hearing all throughout the past week and a half that, yeah, something's going down. Something big's going down. And now we're finding out, you know, we're getting that confirmation from Jason Schreier that it's going down tomorrow. So we'll be here. We'll cover it. We'll monitor what's actually going on. I did play Ghostwire Tokyo as well, and that was okay. It was actually, Ghostwire Tokyo was better than I expected it to be. I actually got the platinum for that game. It was a collectathon for sure. It's definitely a collectathon, but yeah, I mean, I guess that's another reason why I was kind of sad to see Tango Gameworks go. But that was funny, yeah, because Sony got that game as a timed PS5 exclusive. You think if Ninja Theory gets shuttered, it's not a huge loss? mean, I am worried about them. I am worried about them. What did I think of the Threads DLC? It was cool going up the towers. I actually didn't play the DLC for Ghostwire. Yeah, once I got the platinum, I moved on from it. Yeah, Tango Gameworks still lives underneath Krafton now, and they do have the Hi-Fi Rush IP. So they're obviously working on Hi-Fi Rush 2, but I want you to think about that for a moment. We're going to get a Hi-Fi Rush sequel, and Microsoft is going to have nothing to do with it. And what's weird about that is, you know, that was a game that a lot of Xbox players championed, understandably so. It felt like the first big win that Microsoft got with their game studios in a very long time. It was like winning awards and stuff. And so, you know, it makes me wonder if we're going to see the same type of championing for the sequel, even though Microsoft is completely detached from it. Guess we'll find out. But we have 2 more Microsoft reports to go over here, and it's not looking good, man. It's, you know. So we talked about this yesterday, but I want to give you guys more context, and, you know, I want to actually go over the report here, not just talk about random stuff I was seeing on Twitter. But we have a report from VGC. The title reads, "I think Xbox hardware is dead," says Microsoft gaming veteran. Founding member of the Xbox team questions Microsoft's multi-platform game strategy. One of the founding members of the Xbox team has questioned Microsoft's multi-platform gaming strategy and said they believe the Xbox hardware business is effectively dead. Microsoft left many pondering the future of Xbox hardware this month, following the announcement of multiple partnerships with external hardware companies, such as ROG Xbox Ally, MetaQuest 3S Xbox Edition, and a multi-year deal with AMD. The ROG Xbox Ally in particular hints at the potential direction of travel for Xbox, since it runs Windows and is effectively a portable PC that can even run games purchased from external stores, such as Steam. The handheld is the subject of the latest video from Laura Fryer, one of Microsoft Game Studios' first ever employees, who now creates YouTube videos commenting on issues within the video game industry. During her lengthy Microsoft career, Fryer shipped numerous games as a producer, including the original Gears of War games, and was director of the Xbox Advanced Technology Group. After leaving Microsoft in the late 2000s, she was general manager of WB Games Seattle and later Epic Games Seattle. Fryer's latest video ponders the future of Microsoft's Xbox business, with the platform holder championing a new cross-platform strategy under its Xbox Anywhere marketing, and explains why she's concerned it could represent the start of a, quote, slow exit from the gaming hardware business for Microsoft. In the video, Fryer calls the Xbox Anywhere message just marketing, end quote, and style with no substance, end quote, and says she believes the ROG Xbox Ally is essentially one of ASUS's portable PCs rebranded. It offers little attraction to customers. Obviously, as one of the founding members of the Xbox team, I'm not pleased with where things are today. I don't love watching all the value that I helped create slowly getting eroded away, she says. I'm sad because, from my perspective, it looks like Xbox has no desire or literally can't ship hardware anymore. So this ROG Ally partnership is about a slow exit from the hardware business completely. She continues, "Personally, I think Xbox hardware is dead. The plan appears to be to just drive everybody to Game Pass, and let's be clear, it has a lot of value. I'm thinking that might be why they decided to charge $80 for Outer Worlds 2, and here's the thing, maybe it will work. Xbox has a deep portfolio. The remake of Oblivion was obviously a huge success, and they can continue to outsource that work to external companies and make a lot of money releasing their older games from an era when Xbox knew how to build them. But what is the long-term plan? Where are the new hits? What will make people care about the Xbox 25 years from now? I was excited to see Clockwork Revolution in the showcase, but will something like that be enough? Do they have more? Next year marks the 25th anniversary of Xbox, and I'm sure that they will have some big announcements and plans for honoring the milestone. maybe next year's the year. Maybe next year's the year that the fog will clear and all of us will see the beauty in these latest announcements. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Interestingly, Microsoft has adopted a multi-platform approach for its first-party games, with many titles now releasing on PlayStation 5, close to or alongside their Xbox versions. However, it has committed to releasing a next-generation Xbox console to succeed the Xbox Series X and S. It's possible that Xbox's future devices will adopt a similar approach to the ROG Xbox Ally. However, with President Sarah Bond stating this month that Microsoft's gaming arm is working closely with the Windows team to ensure that Windows is, quote, the #1 platform for gaming, it continues, at Xbox, our vision is for you to play the games you want with the people you want anywhere you want, she said. That's why we are investing in our next-generation hardware lineup across console, handheld, PC, cloud, and accessories. Whew. So that is the entire report from VGC. And yeah, it's pretty loaded. You know, I did watch this video from Laura Fryer, and it is it's interesting. I have to say, it is genuinely interesting to get the unfiltered opinion from somebody in this type of position, because I feel like, you know, 99% of the time we're getting the opinions from just people, from gamers, right? But to actually get an opinion from somebody who knows the business, who ran the business, who was an integral part of building up that business or that brand, doesn't come along every day. Lux says with the super chat, this time next year, Xbox won't even be a discussion. I mean, I feel like that's unlikely. It depends, right? It really depends. If next year Microsoft is actually planning on trying to ship a new console or a console hybrid, and they have Gears E-Day or Halo Remake, Forza Horizon 6, if they have these games actually ready to go, I think they'll definitely be relevant in the discussion. But the real question, I think, it just comes from a platform/hardware side, where I think that Laura Fryer kind of represents, I think, what she's saying is representing what I think a lot of people are kind of feeling or wondering or questioning. And the biggest argument against what she's saying is that, like, things change, man. Times change. You know, your time is over. And I get that, but, you know, she doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, what she said doesn't necessarily make it sound like what Xbox is doing is bad. But what it does seemingly confirm, or at least validate, is this kind of looming feeling that Xbox is kind of winding down and slowly wrapping up, like, what has made the brand what it is, and what basically what defined the brand for many, many years. Because yes, it does start with the games, but there's everything else surrounding that. There's the platform, the console, the fan base, you know, the exclusives. These are all things that absolutely define the Xbox brand, or have defined the Xbox brand for the past 20 years. Same thing with PlayStation, same thing with Nintendo. And to see one of these companies kind of winding it down and slowly wrapping it up, yeah, it makes sense that people are going to come out and be like, I don't know that I like this necessarily. Of course, you're going to see some people cheering it on. You're going to see some people cheering on, saying that this is great and this is how it should be. But I just think that there is something to be said. And that's why it's great to hear it from a voice, and again, from a person who, it's not just a random person on the internet that's trying to, you know, freak out about it. And she was totally calm, cool, and collected when she gave her opinion on this as well. I just think it does kind of reveal that, you know, if you're a person that's been observing the changes that Xbox is making to the platform and in the hardware space, and you kind of have this looming feeling that I think they might be kind of done, or slowly trying to get out and transition to something else. I mean, we have somebody else out here that is, you know, again, more qualified, I think, to give their opinion, but more qualified to say something with a little bit more authority And you know, yeah, it kind of backs up that feeling a little bit. She hates Microsoft. She left on bad terms. I mean, it has been made clear that she did leave on bad terms. And of course, there's always going to be this kind of like, you know, does she have an axe to grind with Microsoft because of that? And we do need to consider that. But Gaming Survivor, I mean, yeah, you're saying she's credible. She's not an influencer or a marketing executive. She's someone who did the real work. And yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, could her leaving on bad terms have some kind of negative sway or influence on what she's saying? I mean, yeah, but how many years has it been? You know, like, as far as I'm aware, I was looking over her channel and it's like, she's not out here making content frequently on Microsoft or Xbox. She's not making it sound like she just doesn't seem like she has a chip on her shoulder. Yeah, she's like somewhat like a Connie Booth figure for Xbox in a way. Now, do I think that, you know, like, does she actually have negative feelings towards Microsoft because of the way things went down? Probably. But she's not the only one. Certainly not. It's just like, you know, it's like if you were listening to Sean Layden, I'm sure he has negative feelings about the way he was kind of just like, yeah, you're out. See ya. You know? But you don't, I don't know, man. Like, you don't hear stuff like this from Sean Layden, you know? Or Frank, I mean, you don't really hear stuff like this from past PlayStation executives. It's like I say that tomorrow we get a report that Jim Ryan. It's like, let me tell you why PlayStation's the worst. Vinny, no, I want to highlight what you're saying here. You're asking the question. So she's saying that Sarah Bond is lying. I saw, yeah. So this report or this commentary and this opinion piece on Xbox and Microsoft that comes from Laura Fryer, I've been seeing a lot of different reactions to it, and I've been seeing some people getting very defensive and kind of pointing out, like, she's saying that it seems like Microsoft hardware, she says, quote, I think Xbox hardware is dead. Let me see if I can find the other quote. She says the Xbox Anywhere campaign is just marketing, but it could represent the slow exit from the gaming hardware business. It's style with no substance. She says, you know, and she does point out that as a founding member of the Xbox team, she's not pleased with where things are today, so she doesn't hide that fact. She said she feels like she doesn't love watching all of the value that she helped create erode away. So she says, quote, I'm sad because from my perspective, it looks like Xbox has no desire or literally can't ship hardware anymore. So this ROG Ally partnership is about a slow exit from the hardware business completely. Personally, I think Xbox hardware is dead. The plan appears to be to just drive everybody to Game Pass. So she's not saying that Microsoft isn't making hardware. The one thing that she said that I think people should pay closer attention to is she says, quote, it looks like Xbox has no desire or literally cannot ship hardware anymore. So she says or, and that's important because there is a difference. There is a difference between Microsoft no longer wants to make hardware and they want to get out, and they're choosing to slowly move away from hardware because well, it's not a choice. They kind of have no choice because people are not buying the Xbox hardware. You get what I'm saying? And I think that that's kind of the important thing to highlight here is, and I've tried to talk to people about this before, where it's not so much that Xbox, I don't think, if it was up to Satya Nadella alone, I think he would say we're not doing any hardware. But, you know, there's many other people that are in charge of different divisions making decisions. I think that she's just highlighting the obvious here, which is like they literally can't ship hardware anymore because nobody's buying it. And when I say nobody, I don't mean literally nobody. But in the bigger picture of it all, you know, and when it really comes down to it, like, look at what we're hearing about there's apparently going to be an announcement of a restructuring of their European division. That would literally only occur because they're not selling consoles. Like, they just had they're paying money, large amounts of money, to manufacture potentially millions of consoles or hundreds of thousands of consoles for them to just not sell. You know, we read that Push Square article just a moment ago, and it mentions catastrophic Xbox, like, sales have been catastrophically low for Xbox. And I think that basically she's just expressing her frustration in the same way that others have expressed their frustration, where it's like, it's a shame that it has to come down to this. And I get it. Like, the big pushback that we're seeing on the internet, you know, from people who are getting a little bit defensive, is it's like, what are you talking about? Sarah Bond just announced in a video that they're working with AMD and they're making more hardware. And I'm like, yeah, but don't lose the forest for the trees here. That announcement came right after they announced their handheld, which was made by ASUS, not Microsoft. They licensed the Xbox logo and brand to an external manufacturer. Now, I'm not saying that is nothing. That's something. That is something. But I just think that I think that some of the people who are kind of going in the defensive saying, so what are you saying? Xbox is lying? Or are you saying that, you know, like, this doesn't make any sense? They just announced they're making a new console. It's like, yeah, dude, but, like, read the room. You know, it's not that people are saying they're not doing another console. It's not that people are saying they're not doing more hardware. What people are saying is that whatever they're about to do is not, it's a completely new identity for what that hardware is. It's unrecognizable from what Xbox was before. And again, she's just giving her perspective, and that's what she says. From her perspective, she sees it as a kind of bad thing. But she does make it clear that's because she worked for them. She helped build Xbox into what it is. So of course she's going to, you know, she's not hiding any of this stuff. But I think that it represents that, like, yes, there are going to be fans of the brand that look at that new unrecognizable direction and also feel kind of bad about it. Like, well, this isn't necessarily what we were hoping for. I think that it keeps coming back down to this kind of over-the-top, hyperbolic, and I get like this myself too sometimes, but this over-the-top, hyperbolic, like, they're either dead or they're not. Which is it? It's like, nobody, like, listen, realistically, everybody knows Xbox isn't dead. They just bought Activision Blizzard. They're not dead. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about the life or death of the brand. We're talking about the complete transformation of what the brand was into what it's trying to become. And how not everybody is going to be on board with that. And how especially when you compare that to the other brands and the other hardware manufacturers, it doesn't really compute with some people. You know, it's like, well, I see like the perspective of a PC gamer, and they're like, well, this is great because this is the way it's been on PC forever, and this is how it should be everywhere. And then you look at it from the perspective of a console gamer, and they're like, well, this doesn't seem at all like the way things are traditionally done in the console business. And that's the whole point of Microsoft and the term that's used, disruption. They're trying to disrupt the traditional console business. But I just think that, you know, it turns into this hyperbolic type of conversation because there's too many people that I think they just want to, again, they just want to make a statement that's as simple as, so you're saying Xbox is dead? Like, no. So then Xbox is winning. It's like, no. And actually, everything that's going on is right somewhere in the middle. And that's what makes it so interesting. Because we don't know what the outcome's going to be. We don't know. We can assume, but we don't know. And we have Michael Lynch with 2 super chats. Thank you, buddy. He says, the people that think she's lying are the ones with the wool pulled over their eyes. They have been blinded for years by Xbox's lies. I'm talking about Laura Fryer, not Sarah Bond. Well, that's the thing, man. People who are saying that she's lying, and this is why you got to be careful where, like, people are throwing quotes around, and this is why I wanted to be sure to go over this topic in more depth than what we did yesterday, because yesterday, again, I was just yesterday was more of a reactionary, I'm reacting to things I'm reading on Twitter. Today, I wanted to be more thorough with the analysis and discussion, because people need to be careful where they're getting their information from or who they're choosing to listen to, because she can't be lying about what she's saying, because she's simply saying that it's her perspective and her opinion. And I think that she is throwing her weight around a little bit, and that, yes, I did work for Xbox, and yes, I actually have experience, and I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just a random, YouTuber or random Twitter user. So she is throwing her weight around a little bit, but she, there's nothing wrong. Like, she's allowed to do that. And I think people are interpreting that. Again, like, there's a natural authoritative nature to what she's saying, where it's like, I was involved firsthand, so what I say is going to be, more people are going to listen to what I have to say over, Joe Schmo on Twitter. And that is what it is, but she does make it clear it's her opinion. She's not saying it as, let me tell you how it really is. No, she's saying from my perspective. And that, to me, the very defensive reaction that you're seeing from certain people, I think she just kind of, I think she struck a nerve with some people, because I think that the people who are getting the most offensive, they know that what she's saying is likely true. And I think more importantly is they know deep down that they kind of wish it wasn't that way. And I think that's what's important to highlight here, because we continue to see so many people that, they proclaim things so robustly, so confidently, with their chest out. This is what Microsoft's doing, and obviously it's the best. Obviously this is the way. It's always been the way. And it's like, bro, I'm pretty sure, like, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure based off of your history, there's like a part of you that would just, you'd really love if Microsoft just came out the same way Sony does, the same way Nintendo does, and says, we're doing another dedicated console, and we're going to have some exclusive content for X amount of time for that console. Please look forward to it. I'm pretty sure that the people you're seeing getting, that are reacting most intensely to this, that's really what's going on inside. And that's why they feel the need to kind of get defensive about it. Maybe not everybody, but it's just an observation I've been making over the past 24 hours or so. And so, when it comes to the idea of Xbox lying, I don't think it's that they're flat out lying, because it's not. They said what they needed to say. It's just a matter of being able to pick up what they're putting down, right? Like, when you listen to the Sarah Bond video where she comes out and goes on this really motivational, we're doing it type of speech for the next Xbox hardware, if you listen closely, she made it clear, Windows based, multiple storefronts, multiple pieces of hardware. There was no inclination in that video, from what I could tell, that showed any commitment whatsoever to any type of, any type of commitment to any type of traditional model. And I don't think that people should be upset about that, but I think it's fair for people to be like, so what does that mean? Right? It's fair for people to ask questions and kind of be a little bit puzzled. What do you mean Windows based? Isn't that what PC is? Are you making a PC? What is this? And, they're not going to give every detail yet. It's too early, but You think it means a lot coming from an OG Xbox contributor? The people who say she's lying are scared that their narrative is tumbling over with an actual expert giving their 2 cents. Well, we have another report, believe it or not. Again, I'm not out here. I'm not bringing this stuff to the table saying, let me tell you what I think about Xbox. I'm bringing reports to the table that are coming from other developers and professionals in the industry. And it's a wild one, man. Like, there's a lot going on, I think, surrounding Xbox right now. And, you know, Gaming Survivor, we've talked about that extensively. You know, the narrative that certain people are trying to keep alive. And, like, look, man, I'm not trying to damage Microsoft or damage their bottom line. Like, that's comical to think, right? Like, I could never do anything like that. I'm just here to make it known that, like, you know, I was an Xbox fan at one time, a big Xbox fan, and I loved what Xbox was doing at one point in time. And I just think it's kind of sad to see what it's all kind of, just the fact that these are the conversations we're having, man. Like, I would much rather be sitting here having a conversation about, man, what's Sony going to do to take on this, you know, next generation Xbox? It sounds like it's going to be a freaking force, you know, to contend with. Like, is Sony going to be able to do it with the PS6? Are they going to keep it up? Like, I'd much rather be having that conversation, because to me that is much more exciting. Instead, the conversation, unfortunately, and it's nobody's fault, it's just the way Microsoft is making it. It's like the conversation is so like, so is this a PC or what? You know, it's like, it's just not what I would have hoped for. Then you have Jez Corden claiming she was responsible for the Xbox One. What? No way. She was responsible for the Xbox One? Pretty sure we all know who that was. Nick, you're saying they sold a console with a 50% failure rate and used replacement units in their sales totals. They've always been untruthful. Well, I've went on record numerous times telling people, like, just assume that these corporations are not being honest with you. Because the reality of it is if they're completely honest, they're going to lose sales. If they're completely honest, they're going to upset people. You're going to upset people even more if people find out you're not being completely honest, but that's a risk they're willing to take in the name of better profit, you know? But yeah, man, it's been, I got to say, like, this was something I wasn't expecting to come across. It's one thing if it's people just speculating online. It's a whole different thing when experts from the industry are saying something. Well, with that being said, and that's true, Nick. Yeah, I mean, that's something that we shouldn't sweep under the rug, you know? It's these are things that they matter at the end of the day, where it's like, don't forget, man. Forgive, but don't forget, right? You're saying, Danny, you're saying you don't have to like Xbox, bro. This whole discussion is a waste of time. I prefer PlayStation 2, but come on, wasting your breath. Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. Like, Sony's being a little bit quiet right now. We've been talking ad nauseum about Death Stranding 2, and I was thinking about doing that again today, but I figured we'll give it a little break. I'm going to get some more playtime in. We're going to talk more about Death Stranding 2. We did talk about Ghost of Yotei, talk about Red Dead. You know, PlayStation is obviously, in my opinion, the most vital part of the conversation, but there's just, I can't deny that these are the reports that are trending right now, man. And part of my job here, even though we do run a PlayStation-centric channel, part of that job, in my opinion, is to inform people of what's going on with what is now seemingly the biggest publisher on the PlayStation platform. And, you know, I get it. You know, it's a bit much. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I'm not going to go into spoilers. That's why I've been trying not to talk about it for too long, because the longer I talk about it, the closer I get to talking about the story and stuff I've encountered. Granted, a lot of people are ahead of me already, but Mr. B says I'm upset. I'm already 50% done. Death Stranding 2. Damn. I know the feeling. But yeah, I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Can't wait to eventually complete it, and it'll be nice to do a spoiler cast and hopefully have many of you guys join me. Maybe some of you guys will beat it before me, but I'm taking my good old time. MBG, the next Xbox is going to be using the Steam Deck model hybrid. It's very easy to understand if you own a Steam Deck. Yeah, and it's certainly an optional strategy that can be deployed. I think that one of the things that I can't help but kind of ponder or kind of underline is that, like, I just simply don't believe. No surprise cameos yet. I simply don't believe many, or at least a few out there that claim that this is such a, like, this is what they wanted. And I just question that because it's like, I don't know, man. It feels like if, like, Sony was doing what Microsoft is doing, if Sony partnered with Asus and was like, here's a Windows-based PlayStation handheld, I wouldn't believe almost any PlayStation fan that they're like, this is what I wanted. This is great. I would actually genuinely question, like, wait, what? This feels like the opposite of what you would have wanted. You know? And that's, I think, just what kind of leaves me in this space of just slight confusion where it's like, I mean, these have been options for years. Is it because the Xbox logo's on it now that makes it different? I mean, the hybrid approach isn't a bad one, but I just don't feel like that's what, like, the people who were champions of the 360 era, even the people who stuck around with the Xbox One and the people who are championing the Series X and S, it's like, I don't think this is the outcome you guys really wanted. And I understand that it's like, it's the one you're getting. It's where it's going. So try to see the glass half full. I get that. But it feels a little bit forced at times. I won't lie. We have a JD Gamer with 2 chats here. He says, question, what do you think happens next gen when the Xbox hybrid is offered at, let's say, 2 SKUs, 500 and 800 alongside a handheld, all with Play Anywhere plus backwards compatibility? Do you think that people offered more games, more stores, and a better service in Game Pass, doing something never done before, will be passed up easily? Well, I mean, JD Gamer, I always find your perspective somewhat interesting because it's the perspective of the optimist, right? Like the Xbox enthusiast that's also very optimistic. And I think that's kind of what I was just saying, right? That, like, it feels like, and I don't mean this in an offensive way. I really don't. Because, you know, it's expected to a degree. Even if, like, PlayStation, it's like me with PlayStation going to PC, where I admit, like, I was wrong. You know, I thought it was going to be a bad thing, and it wasn't. I mean, some people still think it's a bad thing, but it's like, it feels like this is suddenly a good thing because it's just what they chose to do. You know, and I feel like if I were to ask certain people, like, are you sure you wouldn't have preferred them to do a proper, traditional, dedicated Xbox console next gen that is a proper follow-up to the Series X, and then have launch exclusives and then exclusives throughout the entire of the generation? and have a closed ecosystem. I'm telling you, I feel like if that, I understand that people are going to say, no, I wouldn't want that. And I get they're going to say that right now because you're not getting that. But something tells me, and this is just where it's like, I feel like, I'm not trying to call people's bluff per se, but I guess that is kind of what it looks like, where it's like, something tells me that if it was the way I just described, if it was, we're basically doing the Xbox 360 again. We're running it back. We're doing it again, but without the 50, without the red ring of death, of course, and maybe a better tail end. I don't believe for a second that all the people you see championing this new direction that Microsoft is going in, I think if they tell you they would not be excited for that, I think they're lying, not just to you. I think they're trying to lie to themselves. Because again, the question needs to be asked, if that way of doing things is so bad and so detrimental to the games industry, like many claim, and the way that Microsoft is about to do it is so much better, why were people so supportive back in the day? Even still today. Why are people still so supportive of Nintendo? Why are people still so supportive of PlayStation? Why were people so supportive of Xbox up until they really messed things up with the Xbox One gen? But why were they so supportive? Some people say, well, because they had no choice. And it's like, well, that's not true. You did have plenty of choice. The choice was between PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, and PC. And I don't know, man. I feel like that's a hill I will die on, is that, I see people mentioning like Jez Corden, or I see people mention like Cole Eastwood or whatever. And, I'm not, I'll be honest, I'm not really paying too much attention to these guys, and I have nothing against them, but I just don't believe. It's like, if you ask them the question, would you prefer Microsoft to do things the traditional way, the way that they've done it with the original Xbox, the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, for as many screw-ups as they had with that, and the Xbox Series X and S? I feel like if they say no, I wouldn't prefer that, I just flat out think that's not true. Because it doesn't make any sense to me. If what they're championing now, and not, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I mean, in general, like a lot of Xbox players, what they're championing now, I think that has existed this entire time on the PC platform. You should have been championing the PC platform. You should have been championing Steam this entire time. And that's all I'm trying to point out, is that wherever Microsoft decides to move the Xbox logo to, as long as it's got the Xbox branding around it, then they will be on board with it. Whether that means dedicated console, no dedicated console, console hybrid, traditional console, it doesn't matter. As long as it's got the Xbox branding, we're behind it. That's why it was so strange to see people acting the way they were with the Xbox ROG Ally X, where it's like, guys, you're hyping up a device that is a reskinned device that you can currently buy right now and do the exact same thing, pretty much. And so you kind of see that the hype is artificial, where it's like, just so you know, the only thing that's really changed here is the button prompts, like the buttons. They're using the Xbox controller buttons and the Xbox logos on it. That's pretty much all that's changed. So where's the hype coming from? And that to me is what kind of reveals not the lie, but just the I don't know what other term to use, but just I guess you could say the kind of very weak push of like, this is why it's better. And it's like, you're saying it's better because it has an Xbox logo on it, dude. Because what you're saying is better, PC has been doing this whole time. And the day Microsoft decided to turn to you and say, hey, just so you know, when it comes to the Xbox brand, we're kind of going to be doing what PC does now. So facade, thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, Ray. That's what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be embracing the PC side of things and doing things that way. We're going to open it up. We're going to be open now. And of course, it's like, yeah, this is great. This is great. And it's like, yeah, of course it's great because Microsoft told you it's great. Because they said, we're going to do it and we're going to bring the Xbox logo with us. But I hate to burst everybody's bubble. What you're celebrating has already been in existence this entire time for PC gaming. That's all. That's all. And so I get it. If it's like, hey, this is good. Now we have another major player like Microsoft and Xbox embracing the openness that is, you know, what PC gaming is or what PC gaming represents. That more open nature, less closed. Now we need Sony to do that, and then eventually Nintendo. And it's like, okay, I can understand that, but I don't know, man. Just because Microsoft is doing it because they have no choice to do it doesn't mean that Sony nor Nintendo should also be forced to do it. You get what I'm saying? Like, if what they're doing is working for them, why not just let them do what's working for them? Because believe me when I tell you, it was not Sony who came out at the beginning of the PS4 generation saying, we're going to sell 200 million PS4s. No, it was Microsoft who came out and said, we're going to sell 200 million Xbox Ones. They wanted to be the Apple of gaming, of console gaming. Microsoft did, and they failed. And you would have to be foolish to believe that they wouldn't still kill to have that. They would, but they just can't have it. They have to settle for something different. They have to disrupt. They have to do what they can to win people over. Nothing wrong with that. The conversation is fascinating to me. But we have a third super chat that I forgot to read from JD Gamer. He says, what Xbox is doing has never been done regardless whether this was what we initially wanted. This is a great outcome. We still get hardware and all games. Well, I can agree that you're going to be getting a lot of games, and that's great. Like, if that's your reason for being excited, I'm never going to discourage that. I'm never going to tell somebody you shouldn't be excited to play games where you want to play them. The only thing I do disagree with here is that what you're saying is not true, that this has never been done before. The only thing that's never been done before is Game Pass. That I can agree with. What Microsoft is doing by putting day one AAA games into their service, every single release, as far as I'm aware, that's never been done before, and it seems to be hurting them. If not hurting them, it's certainly, it's not producing the type of growth and the type of numbers that they hoped for. Putting that aside, nothing they're doing has never been done before. For example, William Aguilar, I don't think he's in the chat right now, but he was here yesterday and he was talking about how, what Microsoft is getting ready to do is essentially what Steam or what Valve already tried to do with the Steam machines. Now, that's absolutely true. The thing is, the Steam machines completely failed. I think there are numerous reasons why the Steam machines failed. But make no mistake, what Microsoft is about to do is not new. It's not something that's never been done before. What people are paying attention to is that this might maybe this will be the first time that it finds some level of success. And that's where I think I have a different, perspective than some people, where, JD Gamer, from your perspective, you believe it's going to, I'm making an assumption here, but you seem to believe that this is going to be a huge success, that this is going to be a new dawn for Xbox, where it's going to bring millions of people potentially in, and it's going to start to really win people over. I have the opposite perspective, where I'm like, this has already been done before, and it failed in spectacular fashion. And I'm looking at what's going on with the Xbox hardware right now. Like, keep in mind, JD Gamer, you can buy an Xbox Series S for like $380, $400, which is, in my opinion, overpriced for that console. But you can buy a $400 Xbox Series S that offers almost everything you just mentioned right now, and nobody's buying it. Now, the only thing I feel like you could add to that is, well, what about if it offered Steam? And I'm like, that already exists. That device exists right now. It's called a gaming PC. This is what I'm trying to say, man, is that there's nothing wrong with being excited about the direction that Microsoft is going in with their hardware. But I really think we just need to kill, if not kill, just dismantle the narrative that is, Microsoft's going to put out a PC that looks like an Xbox, but is actually a PC, and it's going to win everybody over, and it's going to be huge. Never been done before. And I'm like, dude, you are vastly overestimating people's desire for a console that is just a PC that's plug and play, because those two things don't mix together for a reason. And I've explained this. It's because what I'm trying to say is that the people who make it sound like this hybrid Xbox console is going to suddenly shoot Xbox hardware up and make people, and it's going to start selling millions, they, I think, are vastly overestimating the market that this device is going to serve. Okay? We already have a market right now that's pretty clear cut. It's divided in half. You either want a video game console, which is plug and play, simple. You plug it in, you plug the box in under your TV, you pick up the controller, you install the game, and you play it. Maybe there's an update. That happens automatically, right? That's it. If you don't want that, you have PC. PC is the exact opposite. Yes, it plays games. It does everything that a console does, but no limitations. With that comes a lack of simplicity. So it's understandable that people think, well, what if we take both and combine it? We take what is essentially the open PC experience and try to make it as simple as a console. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. That is a good idea on paper. The question we need to ask is, and Lux, that's another thing though. Like, that's something else that needs to be highlighted is you're saying I'm making it sound like PC is so overcomplicated. It's not that I'm trying to make it sound like it's overcomplicated. It's just the openness of it, I think, can be intimidating to some people and maybe overwhelming. And there's a level of complexity, but sometimes people do just like, yeah, please just give me like 2 buttons to press, and I can just do the thing. And depending on what you're trying to do on PC, it can become complex. But that's why I'm saying, like, even in that instance, there are millions upon millions upon millions of gamers who feel the way you feel, Lux, where it's like, PC is not complex. I love it. It's fine. They're not those people. Like, let me ask you this. How many PC gamers right now are sitting there being like, man, I wish there was just like a box I could buy that it is PC, but it's like easier. It's like simpler. It's like less complicated. I mean, I don't think that exists, dude. I mean, I'll be honest. I really don't think that exists. And if it does, you're talking about less than 1%, maybe. I feel like PC players, and that's the thing, is like, what are the chances that those players that are on PC didn't already buy a video game console? This is why I'm saying that the market that this device is appealing to, I'm not saying it's non-existent. I'm saying it's very small. And in my opinion, this new Xbox is meant to appeal to current Xbox owners, first and foremost. Not prospective Xbox buyers, not PC gamers, not PlayStation gamers, not Steam players. I think this box that Microsoft is making is for those 30 to 35 million who decided to buy a Series S or a Series X. And I think that they're going to struggle to get half that with this new device. That's my opinion. That's my prediction right now. Because the more I think about it, the device that they're going to offer is not bad. It's not a bad device. And it's nice to kind of, oh, that's cool. It's an Xbox console with Steam on it, and I can do different things. That's great. But I think there's a reason why the people who are hyping it up the most are people who currently play on Xbox. Because I'll tell you this, like the most I've seen, and this is as far as I'll take it, I've seen examples of two types of player. Now, these are anecdotal. I've seen one person who's a PC player saying, oh, hey, maybe I would consider picking up that device if it's not too expensive and if it's something that I feel like I could get good use out of if I can access my Steam library. So that's a maybe from a PC player. I've seen a PlayStation player say that if the next Xbox offers Steam, that could be a game changer for me. I might consider buying it. And so there is this kind of anecdotal evidence of like maybe, but it's a big maybe because it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do when Sony shows you the PS6 though? What are you going to do if Microsoft comes out and says, hey, that Gears of War E-Day, you can play that on your PS5. You don't even need a PS6. You don't even need this new Xbox. You can just play it on your PS5. If they do that. Like, this is where I'm saying, like, there are so many roadblocks, especially if this hardware is going to be expensive. There's so many roadblocks in place already for this next generation Xbox console. And this is why I find it comical when I run into people and they're like, dude, the PS6 is going to be a tough one, man. Who's really going to buy a PS6? Is Sony really going to sell as many as they did the PS5? I mean, are people really going to want to upgrade? I'm like, dude, people are asking that question for a PlayStation 6 right now. You think they're not asking those exact same questions with 10 more things piled on top for this next-gen Xbox hardware? I think people who are living in this bubble that Steam is going to somehow solve all of Xbox's problems are somewhat deluded. Steam is not going to solve Xbox's problems. It's not going to happen. The reason I say that, once again, I will reinforce it, is because Steam is accessible right now on I don't know if millions, on millions of devices. Anything you can think of probably already exists. You can buy it right now and access Steam. And this new Xbox console is just going to be another one thrown into the mix. There are millions and millions of Windows devices out there, all of which you can probably hook up an Xbox controller to, all of which you can use Steam Big Picture mode. And I get it. Somebody might say, well, maybe Steam Big Picture mode isn't that efficient. We need Microsoft to come up with something better. And maybe they will. Doesn't mean it's going to take over, man. Just means it's another option. And again, no problems there. That's the whole point. Options. The more options you give, the more it dilutes the actual identity of the thing you're looking at. And depending on who you are and what you're looking for, you're gonna have to determine for yourself if is that the device you're buying. Go ahead. But just don't assume that millions upon millions of people, like tens of millions, are also going to come to that same conclusion. Because there's just not much evidence of that right now. At all. All right. Falling a little bit behind on... Hold on, let me see. So we have Lux with a super chat. He says, the only positive of Microsoft doing this is for developers. LOL. They now have one less platform to make games for. Now PlayStation, Switch, and PC, not the Xbox-centric platform. I mean, yeah, that is true, Lux. That's actually, I would say, a major, at least from a developer standpoint, probably a major positive. One less platform to have to worry about optimizing for, and this could ultimately result in potentially shorter dev times if this device facilitates yeah, you're getting PC versions. That could be good for game development in a broader sense. Didn't really consider that. We have Novenzer saying, JD, I guess this is in response to JD Gamer. He says, Game Pass is something nobody has done, and it's failing. We have Cupcake Bliss with a super chat saying, on Chapter 8 in Death Stranding 2, and for me, I can say, wait to replay it. I can say, wait to replay it after I'm done. I think you meant to say you can't wait to replay it after you're done. I'm enjoying it so much. My only issue is no Conan. Where's my otter jokes? LOL. Oh. Yeah, I forgot about that. I think Jeff Keighley was in DS1 as well. I forgot about some of the cameos. Yeah, I mean, you're on Chapter 8. Somebody was telling me they're on Chapter 5, or wait till I get to Chapter 5. You're saying you're enjoying it so much, you're going to just straight up replay it once you're done. Good stuff, man. It's been nice. It's been nice hearing you guys talk about how much you've been enjoying Death Stranding 2. Seriously. It's been cool. Keep it up. I'm waiting to encounter the first person who says they beat it and see how they're feeling. We have Ghetto God, a member for 20 months. Thank you for that, buddy. He says, if you're able to access RP servers in games like GTA 6 on the new Xbox Hybrid, I might have to get one, and I don't have to spend 3 Gs on a capable PC. Well, we're going to have to see, man. I mean, we're talking extensively about it over the course of the stream, but I think the big factor here is going to be the price to performance ratio. One thing I do want to mention, and I think this is relevant to what you're saying, Ghetto God, because you're mentioning, not having to spend 3 Gs on a capable PC. I think that's kind of crazy. That's really high end, but people have been asking the question, and I don't think it's like, I understand it's like, well, why are you pocket watching? And it's like, I get it, but we're trying to like figure out, we're trying to predict what we can maybe expect. People are asking the question, like, if this is the direction Microsoft's going in, how are they going to make money? I mean, the whole idea of a console is you have a closed storefront and a closed ecosystem that subsidizes the hardware. So if they're not going with that model, that means one of two things. That means you're going to have to either sell the hardware at a profit right off the rip, which, believe me when I tell you, in 2025 going forward, that's not going to be cheap. Or you're going to have to just eat the loss with no upside. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of the interesting thing about this upcoming Xbox, is that Microsoft is not going to eat the loss. They could afford to do so if they wanted to, but they're not going to do that, mainly because if they're going to offer Steam and other storefronts, there's a high chance they're not making any money. Literally. I mean, literally not making any money on this device. Not through the point of sale, not through the software. So the only rational, reasonable option at that point is you're going to have to get a profit off the rip, which means every person that they sell this device to, it's going to have to make them a little bit of money, because that might be literally the only money they see. And I think that's another aspect that people are kind of losing sight of. Like, as in, this could be a very expensive device. You could make the argument that the same thing will apply to Sony, but I will make the argument that the one main difference is that Sony can still subsidize the PS6 if they really felt they had to. It would still be risky. I'm not saying it would be a guarantee, and I'm not saying that Sony in 2025 is likely to do that, but if they really felt like, listen, we're either going to charge $600, we're either going to charge $700 or $600. If we charge $600, we're going to be selling it at a slight loss, and we're going to have to hope that software and subscriptions make up for it. If they really needed to do that in the name of moving more units, they could do that. I don't think they'd want to, but they could. And they would do that, I think, if they needed to, because, yeah, that's still their main business model. And to be clear, I don't think it would be a major loss. Like, I don't think that they would be like, we're going to take like $150 loss on every console sold. I don't think they would do something extreme like that. I mean, even like $100, I think would be pushing it. And we have JD Gamer with another super chat, and he says, the console and PC have never been bridged before this way, where a platform holder has all the elements, a la hardware, games, and services. And gaming PCs aren't plug and play, which is what Microsoft is doing. Well, I mean, again, JD Gamer, it's not so much that I'm trying to convince you that you're wrong, as much as I don't think you're going to be able to change my opinion on this. And I don't think I'm going to be able to change yours. I think we're at an impasse here where I just think we're both kind of placing our bets, so to speak, where you, and there are others certainly that feel the way you do, JD Gamer, where it's like you're placing your bets on people are going to recognize there's a piece of hardware that does it all. It's plug and play. It's got Game Pass. It's got Steam. It's got everything. I can even play whatever Sony games are available through Steam. It's got it all. And there is like a small part of me that can kind of almost see that, like, yeah, I could maybe see if the stars align and they market it just right. And, it's just everything comes together perfectly. Maybe this is some kind of pivot, like major turnaround moment. But then like the reality of like, bro, almost everything that's listed there, the only thing missing JD Gamer from the Xbox Series X right now, or the Series S, is Steam integration. My question is, if Microsoft announced Steam integration on the Series X and S tomorrow, because everything you just listed, the hardware, the games, the services, the openness, the storefronts, if they said Steam and Epic Games Store is now integrated into the Xbox Series X, does that turn Xbox sales around? Do people start suddenly going out there and be like, I need to get the Series X right now? Because I think we need to kind of understand that that's basically what you're describing. And do I think it would boost sales? Yes, I do. If Microsoft said tomorrow that Steam and Epic Game Store is available on the Series X right now. Yeah, and that's true. Like, that's the thing, Laura Canning, you're saying, well, that would mean they could play Spider-Man on their Xbox Series X. And that's true. But my question is, even with that reality, do people suddenly be like, fuck, dude, I'm going and I'm buying that at Series X right now? I get this feeling that it still wouldn't change anything. Like, I think a smaller group of people would be like, oh shit. Okay, yeah. That changes everything. I'll go get it. But I think that's only like a couple million people. And then after those couple million people buy the Series X, and they're like, fuck yeah, this is the best. I got Steam. I got Spider-Man 2 on my Xbox. I got everything. I got Game Pass. I think it's just like, okay, anyway, the PS5 just sold 100 million units. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to say it to sway your opinion. It's just, that's the perspective I see it from. And this is where the one thing I will add to this, JD Gamer, is I think it comes down to marketing. I think if Microsoft gets crazy with their marketing, where they're out here flaunting a new Xbox console, and they're like, hey, we got Steam, and you know what that means? You can play Spider-Man and The Last of Us on your Xbox. Oh, by the way, here's Game Pass. If they get crazy with that marketing and really push that, I think Sony would get pissed. That's when I think Sony would take some kind of action. And that would be interesting. I'd love to see that. I just don't think it's going to happen, man. I don't know if that's Microsoft's plan. I don't know if their plan is to be like, oh yeah. Well, I mean, Sony could take some type of action. It's just the action would probably hurt them. They would hurt themselves. I mean, Lore Cannon, what you're saying, I feel like that's exactly what Microsoft would do. They're going to look at Sony and be like, "What's wrong, Sony? Why are you mad? We're just a PC. It's just a PC. You can't be mad." Whoa. Hello, boss. We have Amani B with a $10 super chat. Thank you for that, buddy. Saying, respectfully, please stop. No, I don't want Microsoft to go back to the traditional console. Why? When developers used to skip the platform now, I will be able to play PC exclusives on top of PlayStation games / Game Pass. Well, to be clear, Amani, I wasn't trying to say everybody. And it's hard to differentiate that because I know when I'm speaking, I'm talking about like groups of people, and all these groups tend to maybe get bunched into one larger group. But what you're describing, I know those players do exist. I know that there are Xbox players, legitimately. But let me ask you this question, Amani. I got this question for you. Have you made YouTube videos for years, or have you been tweeting on Twitter for years about Xbox exclusives and about how the Xbox console is going to dominate? Have you been partaking in the hey, stop, boss, in the so-called console war? Because if your answer is no, Amani B, if your answer is no to that, then yeah, I fully believe what you're saying. Like 100%. Because if you weren't the one out here being like, hey man, wait until you see those 12 T-flops. Wait until you see the Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive on Xbox. What's Sony going to do then? If you weren't that person, then I 100% believe you when you say, bro, I actually really like the idea of the traditional console model being replaced with whatever Microsoft is doing now. No. And I'm not, Lux, I'm not saying people should stop having opinions if they console ward. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying hopefully they could understand why it's difficult to believe them. Boss, bro, I still want to encourage you guys to get to 25 members today, but I can't deal with boss driving me nuts. So I'm just going to give him just a little bit so he'll leave me alone. I'm not saying if you console ward, and I'm not trying to say that I'm not even trying to say that people can't change their opinions. I just don't appreciate that the changing of heart seemingly from some people only occurs when, oh, Microsoft is doing it now, so this is great. You get what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I have no problem at all with what you're typing here, Amani B, because I know that those players exist. Genuinely. Where it's like, yeah, man, I supported Xbox because that's just the way it was, and that's how they did things. And then they changed it. And I'm like, hey, this is cool. I'm open to this. But what I see are the people who were the most aggressive during the console war period suddenly just completely changing their tune. And it's like, I just don't believe it. It's like, it's too convenient. It's like, I'm pretty sure that those people that I'm referencing, they would fucking fall out of their chairs. They would be on cloud 9 if Microsoft changed their mind and said, we're not bringing Gears of War to PlayStation. We're not bringing our games to PlayStation. In fact, we are going back to exclusives, and we're going to think about making Elder Scrolls 6 exclusive for the next Xbox as a true, like, you know, again, these are the same people that were hyping up Starfield because it was exclusive, because they knew it was going to be exclusive. It's just that's what I'm talking about, Amani. Like, those people are liars when they come out and they're like, this is great. Just flat out. Day, I don't understand what you're saying. Oh, Lux, dude, I'm not claiming to be innocent by any means. I don't need to watch my old content because people, do you think they don't got receipts ready to go? I got people watching me like a hawk. They got their laser sights on me at all times. Dude, people bring up stuff that I'm like, I don't even remember saying that, but I guess I did because there it is. The difference is, dude, like, if the difference I would say is that if tomorrow, if Sony said we're doing the same exact thing Microsoft is, I would still tell you that I wish they did exclusives. Flat out. I would tell you, yeah, from a business perspective, here's why they're doing what they're doing. Here's why it makes sense. And cool, more people can play games. But I would also say, but I liked it better when they did exclusives. I would not, how could I not say that? You know, it's like if they came out with Wolverine and they said Wolverine's going to launch day one on Xbox, I'm going to say, but that should be a PlayStation exclusive. Yeah, I think it should be a PlayStation exclusive. That's what I would say. And if somebody has a problem with that, it's like, well, you can have a problem with it, but that's how I feel. You know? I know. I know exactly what you're talking about, Lux. I know. I put out this tweet, and I guess it was just because in that moment, I saw how crazy people were getting about it. Where they're getting like nasty over the idea of exclusivity, and I'm like, listen, bro, if you're getting to a point where you are, I mean, it almost seems like you're in a personal argument, like where you're trying to belittle one another over video game exclusives. Like at that point, yeah, take a step back, go fucking play where you want. I think that, you know, all too often these types of conversations do lead to people acting like like they're in some kind of like virtual cage match. And I'm not interested in that. To me, that's a whole different type of content. That's drama content. I'm more interested in like why do people like exclusivity for games? What benefit does exclusivity have? If there is none, if you believe there is none, why is it bad? And let's talk about it, because I think the nuanced reality, truthfully, I think the nuanced reality is that it turns out that it's complicated. That it's not just objectively good or objectively bad. There are different factors that need to be considered. There's context that needs to be considered. And how much context we're willing to surround those conversations and discussions with will likely determine the outcome of people's thoughts on it and opinions. And yes, it is easier to just sum it all up. Well, exclusives are only good for the corporations because they're greedy. But it's like, okay, but you really like we're gonna say there's nothing more to it than that, you know? And there are people they don't want to engage in those deeper conversations, because it's like when you get a developer that says, yeah, you know, making this game exclusively for this piece of hardware, it makes it so we can get the game done faster and more efficiently. That's a positive. Will they ever acknowledge that? No, because they're going to say, well, it would just be better if you took longer and everybody could play it. And it's like, well, everything's timed now, though, so everybody will play it. See what I'm saying? Like, there's more to it. There's always more to it. But like I said, I'm not trying to claim innocence, nor am I trying to play the victim. I'm just trying to understand. To be honest, it's not a matter of trying to understand either, because I do understand. I just want certain people, no matter how many followers or subscribers they have, you know, whether they have a lot, they have a little, it doesn't matter. But I want the people who we know. It's like, I know what you want. You know what you want. You've always known, and you've never hid from that. Just admit it. Just admit it. But they won't, because if they do, then they can't continue to rally around the new direction. They can't continue to pretend that, you know, they love the idea of Asus making their hardware and it not coming from Xbox. They can't do that anymore. I think what that shows is undying commitment and loyalty. Which, you could make an argument that maybe that can be a good quality, but it can also maybe be detrimental. I'm not talking about normal people, bro. That's, to be clear, I'm not talking about just normal, regular gamers who are just like, you know what? I just go where the games are. I think you're seeing a lot of people that have not been normal. They're being forced to make it seem like they were always on that side to begin with. It's just like how I won't sit here and bullshit you. Because again, I know how people, they try to turn it around on me. And it's like, well, weren't you the guy that was freaking out when Sony announced their games are going to PC? Yeah, you're damn right I was. Because I was like, yo, this is dangerous. This is going to hurt your console. And I certainly wasn't the only one. And I made it clear that I don't think you should do that, Sony. But as it continued, and again, I was shut down. And you know what did it? The reality. The reality after years of, well, man, here's the outcome. PS5's doing fucking great. And Sony's getting a little bit more money from their games being on PC, and PC players are happy as well playing some of these games. So you were fucking wrong. Okay. So yeah. So at that point, if I were to say, you know what though? Sony should still take their games off PC. Sony should only make PlayStation games available on PlayStation. If I were to take that stance right now, that is pure selfishness on my part. Like, purely. That is a level of entitlement. Where it's like, well, wait a second, though. Like, nothing would change at all. Sony would still sell just as many PS5s. These games would still be just as good as they are. Nothing would change, except now less people on PC when they come over like a year or two later. Now they're not going to be able to play them at all. And ultimately, studios might get a little bit less money from these games. Considering the side that, for the aspect that I was concerned about, which is this going to hurt the console? Is this going to diminish, like the interest in Sony's own platform and where I like to play and where I want to see it be healthy? No, it's not going to do any of that. Then it's like, well, what other reason would I want to say no to that? The only reason at that point would be just a pure entitlement sense of, well, Sony, they're supposed to be our games, my games only. I bought a PlayStation, they're only, and that's, and then, I get it's like some people still have that feeling. And it's like, I mean, yeah, considering that's how it's been for 4 generations, I get where it comes from, but it's like the proof is out there. Like the proof is out there. It's undeniable. Now, does that mean if Sony, put Ghost of Yotei day one on Xbox, that wouldn't hurt PlayStation sales or even day one on PC? No, that still might happen. That still could happen. But based off of what they've done for the last 5 years, it's like, okay, well, the proof is in the pudding, man. This is not detrimental. And if it does become detrimental, well, then, we'll return to that conversation. I just feel the need to point this out because it's like, I understand that it's like, well, people, it's all about keeping that same energy and dying on that hill. And it's like, that's not realistic. Like, obviously people change their minds. And I'm not trying to make it sound like the people who are championing what Microsoft is doing now, that they're not allowed to change their minds. I'm just saying, for the people who are the most vocal and the people who are the most aggressive, I think that's why you see people trying to just like kind of call it out a little bit, where it's like, bro, like, you changed your tune overnight, not over years, over fucking night. It's understandable why people are going to question that. So it is. It's certainly understandable why people are going to look at that and be like, what happened to everything you said before? And the thing is, they don't have proof. They don't have something to point to and say, this is why it's better. The only thing they have to point to is PC, which has existed this whole time. That's all. I'm just trying to highlight that this is why you see so many people kind of like freaking out about this report and this video that what's her name, Laura Fryer, put out there. We have Michael Lynch with a super chat, and he says, the only thing that is going to solve Xbox's problems are can't miss exclusives. Unfortunately, the talent to create those is lacking. I don't know about that one, Michael. I mean, I feel like there was a point in time where that could have solved their problems. Right? Like, I think we can agree on that if, towards the end of the 360 era going into the Xbox One, specifically the middle of the Xbox One era, going into the latter half, I think that would have solved their problem then. But they didn't make it happen. And so I think what they have now is they have a lot of very successful games. They have Call of Duty now. You're talking about making games that are kind of on the same level as Sony's. Yeah, I think they've kind of given up on that. And I think that Game Pass was kind of a way for them to kind of justify giving up on that, where it's like, well, we don't have to make the biggest and best games all the time, right? Because we're not relying on selling them for $70 or $80 a pop. We're putting it in the Game Pass. I'm not saying that means they purposely cut corners. I'm just saying it's less of a need. I think Microsoft does still have, I think they do objectively have objectively successful games now because they invested. They made a $75 billion investment to make sure they can have some, just on paper, objectively money-making games. Everything else around that is question mark. That's why tomorrow's going to be interesting. Because where the layoffs probably won't be tomorrow. I could be wrong. Just a prediction. Pretty sure you won't be seeing any Call of Duty studios suffering layoffs. I don't know, man. Lux, you're saying Switch 2 is breaking early sales records. PS4 gen hardware at 5 million. IP is the most important thing. That's where Xbox killed their console. And that is fascinating. Yeah, I saw that. Goddamn, dude. The Switch is cleaning house, bro. Like, this is why it's so weird to still see so much negative Switch 2 content where it's like, guys, you fucking lost. Sorry. Try again next time. It's over. Like, you lost. This I saw, I don't know if it's true or not. I think it like leaked out. We'll find out if it's true. Apparently they sold 5 million units in 3 weeks, where it's like, holy hell, dude. Oh my Lord. Like that's and like you're saying, it's like PS4 level hardware. Practically. And you still see people out here. This is why this is why I'm so subdued today. I'm not like worked up. I'm not emotional about it because I realize that like this is the internet, dude. And like the internet's like the Wild West anymore, where you could show that to somebody where it's like, just so you know, all of you are crying about the Switch 2. And I'm not a Nintendo fanboy. I'm not defending anything regarding Nintendo. I don't give a shit. Like literally, I'm not involved. But it's like all that crying, screaming, and all those tantrums you're throwing and just all the whining, you're filling your pockets. That's the beauty of it. This is why I hate that like so much of today is just capitalizing on stupid people, man. And it's very sad to see. Where it's like the people who are watching the grift that is, I need to hate on Nintendo and destroy the Nintendo Switch because it gets the views. Like, don't you realize that they're doing that because it's filling their pockets, bro? Like they're doing it. It doesn't matter to them. It never will that you're wrong. Just so you know. Like everybody loves the Switch, bro. Switch is the most dominant. The Switch 2 is the most dominant console. It's clearly going to be the most dominant console. You know, like, I'm not saying you shouldn't call anything out or point anything out, but I'm just saying when it becomes obvious that, like, you're doing it for a grift, you're doing it in the name of it's just the trendy thing to do and you're filling your pockets, and once it's over, you're going to move on to the next thing. Fuck those people. Like, I'm so tired of that shit. Like, you're like, the irony in it is you're not much different than Nintendo, because everything Nintendo is doing is to maximize profitability and revenue, and that's exactly what you're doing. You're supposed to supposedly be the antithesis of that, and that's not what you're doing. It's a joke, dude. It's one big fucking joke. Let me tell you. Saying Ninja Theory's gone 100%. Microsoft pumped nearly $100 million into them after the purchase with little return. Where are you getting that from, Lux? That doesn't sound good. The console wars are over and Nintendo has won. But getting back to what you were saying, Lux, you're saying the IP is the most important thing. Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. And that's why I think Sony isn't ripping the Band-Aid off. That's why I think Sony is just saying we're going to just stay where we are. Because if you think about it, where Sony is, they can still pull back from PC. I'm not saying they'll delist their games, but they don't have to continue down that road if they don't want to. Or they can. They're right in that, they're in that middle position, you know, where they're not taking another step forward, they're not taking another step backward, they're waiting, they're watching, and they're keeping everything flowing smoothly. And I think that if Sony started to see some kind of erosion of any kind of their console and their hardware, and it seems like they're really, you know, suddenly it's taken a turn, you know, you might see them start to kind of go back to their old ways a little bit to see if that changes anything. And if it doesn't change anything, then they'll have no choice. Like I said, you'll only see Sony follow precisely what Microsoft is doing if they have no choice, because Microsoft is doing it because they have no choice. And yeah, we'll see what happens there. We also have Lux, I'm sorry I missed your second super chat. You're saying, did you see the clips of Asmon reacting to Reforged Gaming? He clowned on him and hooed him. Oh, okay. Okay. Like who is this guy? Think Reforged responded. I saw something I came across on Twitter, like I think this was like 2 weeks ago, where it was an Asmongold clip, and I think it was the one you were talking about. I didn't watch the whole thing though, but sheesh. I mean, I don't know. If I'm not mistaken, somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but Asmongold, I believe, is the most watched streamer in the world. Like literally numbers wise, the number one streamer. I'm not necessarily an Asmongold fan. I'm indifferent to him. I'm not really that familiar with his content or his stuff. I see it pop up sometimes. The most watched North American streamer. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess regardless of whether or not you're getting clowned on, making your way to his feed or like, you know, to that content, it's exposure. I mean, you know, the old saying is all publicity is good publicity. I don't know if that's fully true. You know, like, I mean, things can be damaging, of course, but damn, dude. Yeah, I don't know. That's rough. That's a tough one. Crazy times we live in, bro. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that sounds like something really bad. Big streamers chats making their way to you. Yeah, that I could see how that could be pretty detrimental. And JD Gamer, sorry buddy, I almost missed your super chat too. You're saying, curious, are you going to do an Xbox is Dead stream tomorrow? Like DC guys, like DC guy, I'm not sure who that is. because of the layoffs, or are you going to go easy on Xbox like when PlayStation did it? Well, here's what I can tell you, JD Gamer. There's a couple of important things here. Number one, I wasn't really ever easy on Sony when they announced layoffs Dreamcast guy, okay. When they announced layoffs or especially when they closed studios, I have ripped the only time, no, not even then. The only time I ever remember being a little bit, just slightly more lenient on Sony was when and I know this sounds like a bad one, but I had my reasons, when they closed Sony Japan. And the reason for that was because not that long after they made it clear that we're making Team Asobi. And they're working on Astrobot. That's not Lux. Come on, that's not true, bro. Well, Lux, the last Sony layoffs were for a single studio for about, and I'm not saying it doesn't matter, but for about 30 people. And I did talk about it for longer than, let me ask you this. Who else talked about it longer than me? I'm not trying to downplay it, but who talked about it longer than me? And actually cared? Because I'll tell you what, I've made myself clear when it comes to Sony Bend. I've made myself crystal clear that I am worried about that studio, and I am worried about what Sony and you're saying Reforged did? Okay. All right. Well, if that's true, that's true. I mean, that's good. These are things that do need to be talked about. But I'm just, I'm trying to, I think you understand the point I'm trying to make. I covered it in a video. I talked about it, relatively extensively as I could. I mean, truthfully, I think the conversation ended up skewing in the direction of talking about a Days Gone 2, as every conversation around Sony Bend ends up doing. But I think, people tend to forget that, I have a 4-hour stream. I think it was in January. I don't know. Was it January of this year? It was sometime this year. Now, granted, it wasn't layoffs, but it was another bad topic. It was close to it. Blue Point Games and Sony Bend's games canceled. I fucking lost it. When the Bungie layoffs happened, I don't even give a shit about Bungie. I still freaked out because I'm like, Sony, this falls on you, bro. It's not going to be tomorrow Xbox is dead. Do you know what it's going to be? It's going to be Microsoft came out here, gave a big middle finger to the entire industry by saying, we are going to fucking buy. That's right. We are going to buy, because God knows we got the money to do it. We're going to buy Activision Blizzard, the biggest publisher in the world. We're going to buy them, and we're going to buy Bethesda. And we're going to buy up multiple studios on top of that. And when people like me and many others say, are you the right parent company? Are you really the best fit to be watching over all of these studios? When you have Bobby Kotick, who was running Activision Blizzard, saying Microsoft's out of their mind, basically, for putting Call of Duty Day 1 in the Game Pass, and when asked why, it's because it's going to lose money. I just want everybody to know tomorrow that these things they don't exist in a vacuum. They don't exist separate from one another. Just like I can point the finger at Sony and say, hey, Sony, hey, whoever the dipshit is at Sony who greenlit a fucking live service game from Sony Bend after this, not critical success, but after the sales success, the objective sales success of Days Gone. Whoever decided that greenlighting a new live service game from that studio is a better idea than just saying, no, you guys need to work on Days Gone 2. Yeah, that falls on them. That whoever at Bend Studio thought that was a better idea wasn't thinking about the overall well-being of the studio from a financial standpoint. There's a lot of blame to go around. And yes, I will absolutely point the finger at that and say that's bullshit because you know what? This studio's on the verge of being shuttered if they fuck up. When in reality, what we should have seen, what we could have seen is make a fucking Days Gone 2, rake in another 10 million sales, and strengthen and embolden your studio and make your player base happy. Make lots of money. Then you can reinvest that money into a new game. Hell, then you can make your live service IP. Yeah, that logic absolutely also applies to Microsoft. It's not just to Sony. It applies to all developers and all publishers. But there's one last thing I want to mention here, JD Gamer, that needs to be kept in mind when we go over this news tomorrow. We're talking about scale, okay? We're not talking about a singular studio. You want to see, listen, I want you to remember this, or I want you to think about this and try to remember 2021, 2022, and 2023. The amount of people that were out here making pictures of all the studios, all the games, all the IP that Microsoft is going to own, saying they can't wait to get it in Game Pass. Remember that when we go over tomorrow's news. Because there were people like myself and many others who were trying to tell them you might want to chill with the victory lap. You're cheering on one of the most incompetent video game publishers in the industry. You're cheering on them buying one of the biggest video game publishers in the industry, two of the biggest publishers in the video game industry, and you're already taking a victory lap thinking that there's no downside to this because Game Pass. This level, they have no problem bragging about the scale and the size of Microsoft gaming when it comes to look at who we're gobbling up and look at who we're acquiring. But the moment we see the fucking ugly side of that, oh, wait, you can't say that, MBG. You're console warring. Right. But you keep talking about your Game Pass deals. You keep talking about how Microsoft, they're going in the right direction. They know what they're doing. I'm just saying, JD Gamer, it's not about saying Xbox is not dead. That's a garbage meme that people keep trying to, that bad actors keep trying to keep alive. Xbox is not dead. They're far from dead. But they're efficient. Oh, you're going to find out just how fucking efficient they are tomorrow, where they are not playing around. No dead weight. No fat. Lean, mean, profit machine. Just like it's always been, just like it always will be, just like it is for Sony, just like it is for Nintendo. Tomorrow, the mask fucking comes off. And all I'm here to do is just highlight, hey, that company that you think that you keep talking about is so great, you think they're so much better. Turns out they're just like the rest. Turns out they want money too. Turns out they want to be efficient too. Turns out at the end of the day, the profit is all that mattered. Sorry. That's it. And all I expect is people to just be like, you know what? Yeah. Yep, that's true. Because look at the proof. And then we can move on. And then go back to talking about games. Yeah, Jason Schreier confirmed it's happening tomorrow. It's not about me taking it. There is no fucking victory lap. There's no victory lap when studios are potentially being shuttered and jobs are being lost. It's not about taking a victory lap. There is no console warring. It's not about console warring. It's about getting people who should have shut the fuck up a long time ago to maybe finally shut the fuck up. That's what it's about. It's about the next time one of these clowns wants to come out and tout some bullshit, somebody does come out and say, can you please shut up? Because we listened to you last time and look at what just happened. We're about to find out that a lot of the people that claim so they speak with such confidence. They speak as if they have some kind of authority and they know what's best and that you should definitely listen to what they're saying because they know. You're about to see them eat a lot of shit tomorrow. Everybody's about to see that. And they're going to do everything they can to make you, they're going to act furious. They're going to act upset. They're going to act so caught off guard. And they're going to act like they didn't see people like me and many others saying for years that pretty sure Microsoft kind of fucking sucks, bro. Pretty sure they're not equipped. They're not the right fit to be buying publishers. They don't even know how to manage the 7 studios that they had prior. You think they're going to know how to manage 40? Get the fuck out of here, dude. And you know what? Another thing, you're going to see people coming out tomorrow and be like, well, it's not just Microsoft. Nobody's saying it's just Microsoft. Layoffs are happening everywhere. Yes. The industry is contracting. It has been for years. Yes. But don't be the same jackass that wants to come out here again in 2021 through 23 being like, nobody can do what Microsoft can do. That's right. Microsoft can buy Activision. They got the money for it. Poor little Sony or poor Nintendo, whatever. Don't be the same dude that's coming out with that energy and then coming out the same day when there's mass layoffs being like, well, everybody else is doing it too. I could go in that direction, Lux. I could. I could see, I don't want to I'm not going to be making a spectacle out of tomorrow. That's the last thing I want to do, truthfully. I don't want to make a spectacle out of it because the attention should not be on me. I mean, obviously, you know, everybody's going to be covering it. It's going to be reported on. It's not about me. I just want people to see it for what it is. Just like when Sony buys a fucking studio like Firewalk, not Sprite. Firesprite's still good for now. They buy Firewalk and they come out here in 2022 and 2023, and this is where I will take the fucking L. And I did take the L, and I took it as a big one. Held it real high. Okay? We got PlayStation blogs. We're so excited about Concord. We're so excited about what Firewalk is cooking up. This is a great studio. They're play testing it. They're loving it. It's going to be amazing. I'm like, all right, Sony, sounding pretty good. And then, poof, game comes out. Biggest failure in Sony's history. They literally murder that studio in a week. And I'm just looking at them. That's a disgrace. Like, straight up, Sony, you have disgraced yourself. And absolutely, you deserve all the shit you get for this. You deserve all the shit you get for this and then some. Because we will not forget. It's not about throwing up Concord every chance we get, but in this instance, I will make it abundantly clear that we're talking about game studios, bro. And when we talk about it's about the games, yeah, we're talking about the people making the games. We're talking about foolish video game executives that are beholden to the shareholders because they're worried about the shareholders. Got to make sure you can get your second yacht, making some of the dumbest decisions. Dumbest decisions that guaranteed, most of you here could make better decisions. That's all it comes down to, man. I'm tired of it. I'm tired. I'm not trying to sit here and play the role of, yeah, think of the children, you know, think of it like, you know, I'm not going to be brutal and cold about it. Like, who gives a shit if people lost their job? No, I'm going to keep it real and be like, it is the way of the world. And it's unfortunate. It's reality. Nobody likes it. But you know what? The shit that I see, let me tell you, the shit that I've seen. Something's got to give. Something's got to give, man. You're still pissed about Scalebound? Bro, you know what's funny? That's what people won't talk about. Granted, I don't even know if that content still exists on my channel. Yo, I got to ask my chat a question right now. Is there anybody here with us today? Don't lie about it. Be honest. Is there anybody here that was here on on MBG's channel? What was it, 2017? I think that's when it was canceled, right? 2017. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody here watch that video I made freaking out about Scalebound's cancellation and like basically losing my shit on Phil Spencer? Was anybody here for that? It was before 2020. Smurf, you think you were watching the channel back then? Perfect Image says he was. I know the Crackdown 3 video is the one that everybody remembers the most, but this came before the Crackdown 3 video. This was when I was still... Scalebound exists on the dark web. Dude, this is when I was still a... covering Xbox. I was still like an Xbox dude, and I was losing my shit. And this is where, like... Granted, again, I don't know if that video, if that content's still up. I would like to think it is. I don't know why I would ever unlist it. But that's kind of the funny part, right? Is that, like, yeah, it turns out that even when I was on their side or whatever, you know, I was pro Xbox, I was still freaking out on them. Lux, oh, hold on. Lost you. Lux, you're saying from earlier, I believe it was from Reddit, someone used the public UK tax records to see Ninja Theory and figured out how much money went through them. Oh, no. I have an Xbox tattoo on my head. How'd you know? That's bad, dude. See, that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous. Why are people doing that? Why are people doing that? Like, is there something we need to know? Bro, is Ninja Theory about to close? No. Come on. That cannot be how this ends with Ninja Theory closing. No. I will be fucking pissed. I will be fucking pissed, dude. Let me tell you. And I know people were shitting on... I just saw on my PC yesterday when I was looking through all my shit that I still had Hellblade 2 installed. I know that Ninja Theory failed. But I'm telling you, their talent is too valuable. If Microsoft can't see that, if Microsoft actually closes that studio down, fuck them, dude. I'm serious. Like, fuck them. They are, like, Microsoft is a bigger pile of garbage than I ever could have imagined. If they can't even see the value in, like, bro, I understand that Hellblade 2 maybe didn't live up, but you gotta know, like, you don't have many studios at all that can make games look like this, that have this type of artistic vision. You gotta just figure, you gotta work with them, you know, to help flesh it out more. They cannot shutter Ninja Theory. They would be fucking stupid. I'm sorry. And I say this as somebody where, yes, I agree that Ninja Theory, what they did with Hellblade 2, it was lacking in depth, gameplay-wise. The game should have had more fleshed out gameplay. It should have been less slow. It had its faults, but I always maintained that I still liked that game. I still enjoyed I understood what they were trying to say in that game and the deeper story and the characters. And again, it was a beautiful looking game. But if Microsoft gives up on them because it's, well, you guys lost us money, but we're still out here getting fucking, you know, Ninja Turtle fucking DLC for Call of Duty, I'm out. I'm fucking out, dude. I am out. Microsoft can go fuck themselves. And I mean, I wholeheartedly mean that. What would be worse, for them to shutter them or demote them to a support studio? I mean, obviously shuttering them would be the worst. Demoting them to a support studio would still be pretty devastating because that means they're not making games anymore. But You guys are saying this. Apparently, this is real with the Ninja Theory situation, like with the how much money they lost. Scarlett, you're saying you're confused. I'm confused, MBG. You don't support Microsoft now, right? Well, I mean, listen, man. Like, I question a lot of what Microsoft does, and there's a lot that they do that I don't support. But there are a few select things that they, they are one of the biggest publishers in gaming. I have to. I'm not going to pretend that I don't still like Ninja Theory just because they're owned by Microsoft or Undead Labs or, I'm not going to do that just because they're under Microsoft. It's just, I don't know. I can be honest in saying that there are quite a few different studios that Microsoft owns that if they shut down, like if Turn 10 shuts down, it's going to be a bad situation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like my fucking favorite game, Forza Motorsport. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to be able to say that, man, they just shut down one of my favorite studios or studio I cared about. I won't be able to say that I was somebody who supported their games and supported that studio. I won't be able to say that. It'll be a big deal if it's like Turn 10. But Double Fine is the same thing. Like, I mean, if they shut down Double Fine, people are going to lose their minds. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like that's my studio, bro. Not my studio. Like, I'm not going to do that. But Ninja Theory, I can say, like, I've been following them for a while, and they, Hellblade 1 especially has, I love that game. That's one of my all-time favorite games. It's going to be fucking devastating if they shut them down. That's going to be fucking depressing. Straight up depressing, man. If they shut down a studio, got a 90 on Metacritic with Hi-Fi Rush, then they would have no problem shutting down Hellblade Studio. I mean, yeah. I mean, you're probably right about that. JD Gamer, you're saying corpos are going to corpo. There's no excuse for any of them, whether it be Microsoft, Sony, or Nintendo. All of them make me sick with their corpo crap. I mean, it's true. Like, it's the nature of capitalism. I don't want to get into that discussion. That gets into a deeper, I'm not trying to go down that road, but yeah, I wish corporations would cooperate a little bit less. That would be great for everybody. Like, I am still a consumer at the end of the day. Corpos as in corporations, yes. I mean, Tarnished, I get where you're coming from. I don't want to use layoffs and potential studio closures as vindication, because that's not a time to take a victory lap. And that's why it makes, it is annoying to see people where it's like, you're just trying to console war. Like, no, man, I'm trying to show, like, it's not about necessarily being right. It's about understanding how this shit works. That if you're going to get behind something and cheer it on, you have to understand that there's a duality to everything. There is a price for everything. If you want to cheer on Game Pass and paying $20 a month to get all these games day one, there is a price that will be paid. You may not pay it in the short term, but the result of that could be, turns out more than half the games that were dropped in the Game Pass didn't bring in subscribers, therefore didn't make much money, and they didn't sell very well either. So the price is going to be paid by these fucking studios, and their headcounts. And that is an objective reality that, unless Microsoft says we're okay losing money, unless they say we're okay losing some money, like, we're going to keep the studio going because we value them. And as somebody pointed out, they're not willing to do that. They wouldn't even do that for fucking Hi-Fi Rush and Tango Gameworks. They wouldn't even do it for them. It required a third-party entity, Crafton Games, to come in and resurrect them. So there is a price to be fucking paid. Now, I'm not saying you as the consumer have to care, but ultimately what that may result in is, yeah, studio closures, less games in Game Pass. That's what that might result in. Just like if you say, I'm okay paying $80 for a game, okay, there's a price to be paid for that too. You're going to pay the $80 in the long run. You might inadvertently send a message to these, not the studios. And this is why when we talk about corporations cooperating, you might inadvertently send a message to the corporation. Hey, if you want to charge $90, I'm cool with that too. I'm not that. See, that's the thing. I'm not trying to sit here and be like, you should cheer on $80 games and disown Game Pass. Get that shit out of here. No, like there's two sides to every coin. Like I said, there's a duality to everything. So it's like, well, then what's the best thing to do? The best thing to do is, I mean, I know it sounds kind of cliche, but you got to do what's best for you at the end of the day. And if you are somebody who cares deeply about certain studios, about certain projects, about certain games, you would do well to do what you can to support that. You know, try to make sure you're sending a clear message. Like, I want to support this studio. I want to support this game. And yeah, will a corporation take advantage of that? Yes, they will. But there's nothing we can do about it. That's the nature of capitalism and the business world. So it's tough, man. It's tough. It's a tough one out here. Braddock says he wants an Xbox fridge. You want to buy an Xbox toilet? Well, at least we know Xbox can survive in some way. If if it doesn't work out at the end of the day. 20 years from now, I'm over here. I'm like in my 50s. Oh, guys, Microsoft just announced they're about to. Jason Schreier's reporting that Microsoft's going to be announcing mass layoffs of their Xbox toilet division. Times are crazy. Marcus Edwards with the $2 chat says MBG going through his villain arc. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like a villain per se. I'm not trying to come off that way. I just think that the truth is a hard pill to swallow sometimes. And I understand why people want to avoid it. But, it's just like I've had to accept that no matter how I feel about Sony's games, no matter how I feel about PlayStation, that a lot of people look at this generation as like the worst Sony generation. I think it's like, to me, that's crazy, where it's like, I don't get it. But, that's a reality. That is one reality that exists. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying, all I said, the only thing you guys missed that I said is, I said, damn ghetto god. I turned my gaze to the chat for just a moment and read something like that. Planet Schlorpian, a member for 20 months, says, hey, BG, did you see there's a new Running Man movie with a trailer out now? This one looks closer to the Stephen King book than the Schwarzenegger one. I haven't seen it. No, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, Running Man is a classic Arnold movie. I feel like I heard that they were remaking it. Maybe I'll have to go check the trailer out. We also have JD Gamer with another super chat. Oh, it was muted the entire stream. Damn. JD Gamer says, let's stop with the Hi-Fi Rush thing. 4 out of 5 of the studio leads left with the studio founder. So the studio he had was Tango Games in name only. But, you know, I mean, I understand that. But what bothers me about that is, did they leave because they got bought out? Because, like, even in that instance, like, it still sucks. Well, JD Gamer, here's what I'll say to your super chat. That is true. That is true with what you're saying, that they lost 4 out of the 5 studio leads. However, we are still getting a Hi-Fi Rush 2. We are still getting a Hi-Fi Rush 2. It's coming from Krafton, published by Krafton. They were, Tango Gameworks rebanded, and I think the person, if I'm not mistaken, the person who directed Hi-Fi Rush is still going to direct a sequel. Let's see how that does, because all I know is that when that game drops, if it does really well, if it reviews well, if people love it, Microsoft let that go, like totally willingly. And I feel like that was, again, Hi-Fi Rush was a game that won them some awards. So maybe people will actually support Hi-Fi Rush for time. I mean, look, man, maybe it will vindicate Microsoft, where, let's say Hi-Fi Rush 2 comes out, it's a colossal flop, and the studio does end up getting shut down. Microsoft will be sitting there being like, told you. But I don't know, man. You hope so. It'll be a crazy underdog story. I mean, I'll be honest, I couldn't get into Hi-Fi Rush. I could see the appeal, and I could see the quality level was high. Couldn't get into it, though. Well, I know we've been talking a lot about Xbox, and that probably will continue tomorrow, but we got one more report here. All right. Final report. Being reported by VGC, former Blizzard president Mike Ybarra says Xbox should decide what its identity should be going forwards instead of trying to be a jack of all trades. Ybarra, who served various roles at Microsoft for 20 years, culminating in a role as corporate vice president of Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass before becoming Blizzard president for 3 years, took to X to give his views on Xbox's current situation. Quote, "Tough to see Xbox confused about who it is and what it should be. Some great people are still there. They have to figure out what needs to change, and fast. I'm a big fan and always will bleed green, cheering the team on from the sidelines. Pick your lane and stick to it." When asked by a follower what he thinks Xbox should do, Mike Ybarra said he felt it should focus on being a publisher rather than a console manufacturer. I think Satya Nadella would agree with him. Satya Nadella is like, hire that man. Replace him. Replace Phil with him. He says, "It's simple to me. Xbox should strive to be the world's largest publisher of entertainment content, get rid of everything else, and get focused. Not be afraid to say what you are. Embrace the lane." Asked how that aligned with Xbox's identity as a console manufacturer, Mike Ybarra replied, "From what I see, they are no longer that. Straddling the fence is not a winning plan." Mike Ybarra was later asked by another follower whether he knew anything about the Xbox layoffs reportedly planned for this week, but he stressed that he knew nothing about what is going on there, and he hasn't for years. Ybarra's comments followed those of Microsoft Game Studios employee Lara Fryer, which we already covered. So, Mike Ybarra, man, I mean, I remember that dude. He was there for the launch. I think, he was there with the Xbox One, but I think he was more prevalent with the Xbox Series X and S. Did he run Blizzard into the ground? I don't know. Listen, I could be wrong, but my understanding of Blizzard is they've been running themselves into the ground for like years prior to him. Because I remember him being more on the Xbox side of things. And then it just seems like kind of at the last moment, they're like, yeah, you can. I think to be honest, I think he was part of Blizzard before they were even acquired by Microsoft. Another former senior executive calling him out. Well, I mean, I think what Mike Ybarra is saying actually makes a lot of sense. I do. I think that he sees that Microsoft is trying to run in two different lanes at the same time, and he's just saying you should just pick one lane. But I think that, Microsoft is just giving the hardware side enough rope to hang itself. That's how I see it. I think they're like, yeah, we're not gonna just end it. We're gonna give you another chance. We're gonna do it differently, but if it doesn't work this time, that's it. Why do I even care? Well, I mean, at this point, to be honest, I don't very much. I'm spent talking about these topics, dude. It was either that or talk more Death Stranding, and I'm not kidding when I say that the only reason my original title for at least for where Ghost of Yotei sits was going to be let's talk more Death Stranding 2. And the only reason I decided against that was because it's like, man, the only thing I have left to talk about are the story beats, and it's not time. It's not time. Too many people they haven't started playing yet, or they don't want to talk about the story. But Mike did almost kill Blizzard. Or did not almost kill Blizzard. That was on Bobby and the Activision board. You can't just keep finding a way to only see something negative about Microsoft. Well, I mean, dude, it's not that I don't see any positives with Microsoft. It's just that the positives are the positives that other people see, I don't see as a positive. Like, I can understand logically why they see it as a positive. Like, again, it's like Microsoft is, they drop in all these games in Game Pass. That's amazing. Or they're giving me more options. And it's like, that's all fine, well, and good, but that's not what interests me. Like, what interests me is like, all right, well, what I am more interested in these layoffs because it's like, who's getting the axe, bro? Like, I'm waiting to find out what other games Microsoft is going to be bringing to PlayStation 5. And this kind of like, people have been joking around. They're like, bro, it's going to be Undead Labs. And I'm like, it fucking better not be. It better not be. I mean, I just need to know, like, what am I supposed... When I expend the PlayStation topics, which, as I admitted, there's not many because, well, right now, Sony's a little bit quiet. They're probably going to be gearing up for... Well, to be fair, they announced that, the PlayStation Cross Lisa thing or whatever bullshit that is. And it's like, okay, who cares about that? Like, whatever, Sony. When's that? Announce the date for the state of play for Ghost of Yotei. We talked about that, but it's just... Again, this is what's in the news cycle, man. And it does literally make more sense for me to talk about Microsoft than it does Nintendo because Microsoft is part of PlayStation now. They're a huge part of PlayStation. And it's ironic because it's like people have been telling me for years are like, stop talking about Xbox. It's like, well, at this point, like Microsoft is telling you that I'm supposed to talk about Xbox. I'm supposed to talk about Microsoft. But dude, it's like I'm not sure what positive there is here when it's like I go check VGC. They're one of the places I check every day for news, and the two top trending articles are both former Xbox executives basically not trashing them but being hypercritical. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's a thing. That's what's out there right now. People claim that I don't cover any positive news, and it's just like I just need to know, like, where were you guys when people were going ballistic on Hellblade 2? And I know it's just a little while ago, but it's like when people are going ballistic on it, and I'm like, guys, it's not that bad. Like, I enjoyed it. It had problems, but I enjoyed it. That's the thing, man, is it's just like I think people need to just be more honest in that, like, there are people who want to hear only the good and not the bad. And if we hear anything bad, they want it to be spun into a positive. There are people like, dude, I encounter people like that with PlayStation all the time. Like, tell me why Sony Bend, you know, let's talk about the positive of Sony Bend. And I'm like, there is no positive right now. There is none. You can't, there is no spinning it. There is no positive. You know, their game was canceled. All they dropped was a remaster this gen, and then they had layoffs. There is no positive. I can't tell you, like, the only thing I could try to squeeze out of that is maybe next gen they'll do something great. But fuck, dude, that's like 6 or 7 years away. You know? State of Decay shut down. No, dude. I hate that you guys are joking about that. Because you know what? That's what it's going to be. That's exactly what it's going to be. PlayStation news today about AI being a major focus in PS6. Lisa did an ad for PlayStation. The AI thing, where I saw that Mark Cerny. Did I miss something? I saw that Mark Cerny tweeted. Oh, okay. Oh, shit. All right. We might, well, I guess it's a little bit late now. We are going to move into a members lounge in just a moment. But maybe this could be a topic we cover tomorrow alongside those layoffs. Damn. Yeah, we are getting some PS6 news. Nothing crazy, but all right. Well, guys, I think this will be a good place to wrap up this stream. We are going to move into a members lounge. We could also do like a kind of last call. For, sorry, what the hell? And Radic, I'm sorry, I almost forgot to, well, actually, I got 2 more things here I have to read before we move to the members lounge. We got JD Gamer with another super chat. He says, Xbox already decided what their identity is, and they keep telling us. Ybarra and he has sour grapes after leaving Microsoft, and then ABK. That can't feel good. I mean, I'm not denying that. Listen, I'll just say before we move on here that I'm not denying there isn't any animosity here, but you know, from these former employees. I'm sure there is to a degree, but I'm not. You know, I just think it's kind of telling that they're willing to come say this stuff publicly. Although it does seem like a lot of people don't really like Mike Ybarra. But we have Radic, a member for 22 months. He says, Microsoft already decided soulless and corporate crap all the way, plain and simple. Oof. Rough. That's rough, Radic. All right, guys. Yeah, we're going to wrap up this stream. If you are a channel member, we're heading over to the members lounge. If you're not a member, consider becoming one. But before I head out here, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Sorry about that, MVP Moss. Yeah. But we've been streaming for over 3 hours. So thank you to everybody who joined me in today's stream. And I want to also give a special shout out to anybody who dropped any support. We got a couple people who decided to become members. We also got some good direct donations, super chats. Thank you guys so much for the support. I can only do what I do here because you make it possible. We will be back here tomorrow with probably another video, another stream. And yeah, also want to give a special shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the stream. So if you guys see him in the comments, show him some love, give him some thanks. I know he really appreciates it. And yeah, so that's it for today. The only other thing I'm going to ask you to do as you head out is hit that like button. Again, for all my members, I'll catch you in the lounge in just a few minutes. So look out for that notification. And to everybody else, I will catch you in the next stream tomorrow. So till then, take care, everyone.